Because they're still using it.
Ready? All right, we are here for the Selma City Council regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out on the Independence Day week. Appreciate your presence. It's July 1st, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the Selma City Council chambers at 1710 Tucker Street, Selma, California. That is in Selma, California, 93662. Teleconference phone number is 301-715-8592. The webinar ID is 891-686-4505. When on the phone, if you wish to address the council during the public comment portion of the agenda, press star 9 to raise your hand and we will select you from the meeting queue. Press star 6 to unmute and mute yourself. Notice to meeting attendees, members of the audience shall not engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct, including the utterance of threatening or abusive language or other acts which disturb, disrupt, or impede or otherwise render the orderly conduct of a city council meeting infeasible. Before we call to order for our invocation tonight with Pastor Joe Alvarez, can we please bow our heads for a moment of silence for the firefighters killed at Coeur d'Alene this week and the 2 transporters killed while driving the puppies to rescue? Would everyone please bow your heads for a moment of silence and prayer? Thank you for that moment of remembrance. And with that, we will move on to our invocation with our Pastor Jose Alvarez from
Call to order, you missed call to order.
the
Roll call, I'm sorry.
okay,
Never mind.
from Iglesia Antioquia. And we welcome you and thank you for filling in. We didn't have anybody tonight and you graciously said, I'll be there and I'll do it. Thank you for answering the call.
Father, in the name of Jesus. Your perfect will, we glorify you.
Amen.
Thank you. You too.
Pastor, thank you. We look forward to your event on Saturday too, between 11 and 1.
Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Avalos,
Here.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Here.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Here.
Mayor Robertson.
Here. Potential conflicts of interest. Any council member has a potential conflict of interest and may now identify the item and recuse themselves from discussing and voting on the matter. Agenda changes or deletions to better accommodate members of the public or inconvenience in the order of presentation. Items on the agenda may not be presented or acted on in the order listed. Additions to the agenda may be added only pursuant to California Government Code Section 54954.2b.
Mayor, I have a matter to change on the agenda, if I may. Item 1-2, the special presentation by Sonia Hall. I simply got the company name wrong.
Okay.
Not California Consulting, but Granted Solutions, and I just wanted the record to reflect that.
What's the correct name again, City Attorney?
Granted Solutions.
Thank you. Okay. And with that, we will move on to oral communications. Notice to the public. At this time, any member of the public may address the City Council regarding any item on the regular meeting agenda over which the council has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will be taken on any item not on the agenda. Issues raised will be referred to the city manager for review. Members of the public are asked to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment at this time? Anybody online or on the phone?
Mayor, I see no hands raised at this time.
Okay.
I just want to thank you guys for those events that you guys are doing on the park and the food trucks and all that. Oh, those they're breaking me. The cinnamon rolls, especially. Yeah, they're. My wife sent me back 2 times, but they're great events, and we're just getting a great good deal of feedback that people are just loving that in the afternoons, and just they don't have to go home and cook, and so that's just great. So congratulations to you guys for making that possible. Also, the extended invitation to you guys on Saturday, July the 5th at 11 o'clock. We're going to be doing some workshops for the kids. We'll be doing 3D pins. Don't ask me what they are. Robotics and some other things are beyond my pay grade. These kids they're born with the tablet and they know how to do more things than I can only think of. So I invite you guys, if you guys have nothing to do Saturday, it'll be a great time. We'll be having some little snacks and everything. So you guys can come out here and see the kids doing some awesome things. And so I just want to extend that invitation to you guys. It's at 1426 Grove Street, right there at the youth center. And so we just invite you guys to be present, huh?
Looking forward to
bless you guys.
stopping
Thank
by, Pastor. One before we let you go, how's March for Jesus coming?
March for Jesus is coming out good. Shar Tucker's not here, but she's supposed to start doing the paperwork, and she was under the impression that she was going to wait for 60 days. She can't start the paperwork before 60 days, but I told her to go ahead and start it so we can go ahead and get that started. We want to get some guest speakers that we're going to be here, some live music, and just march in the city of Selma, pray for the city of Selma, bring all the residents back to the city of Selma. We're going to start releasing some media, and we had contracted an engineer that's going to be doing some commercials and stuff like that for us. And we just want to get a lot of people involved in the city of Selma, and then we want to get exposure to the city of Selma for what's going on in Selma. Great things are happening in Selma, and we just want to march that devil out of the Selma too. So you guys are invited. It's October the 4th, 2025. And God willing, on October the 9th, I'll be going to Israel and Egypt doing my trips again. So God bless you guys. That's a free commercial there. So you guys can enjoy it. God bless you guys.
God bless you. Thank you. Anybody else with oral communications at this time? With that, we'll move on to our special presentations. Our first special presentation of the evening is our Parks Make Life Better proclamation for community services. And this is going to be presented by our Community Services Acting Director, Liz Martinez, and our Councilman Oseguera tonight.
Hello and welcome everybody. The mayor asked me to do this proclamation because I served as community services chair for over 20 years until I got elected. I had to leave my position, but if I could still be doing it, I would be there. So thank you, Liz. Proclamation, Parks Make Life Better Month. This resolution recognizes the importance of equitable access to local parks, recreation trails, open space and facilities for the positive development of all Californians and their communities. We therefore declare the month of July as Parks Make Life Better Month. Whereas Parks and Recreation promotes physical, emotional, and mental health and wellness through organized and self-directed fitness, play, and activity, and whereas Parks and Recreation supports the economic vitality of communities by partnering with local businesses and nonprofits and offering events for residents' engagement. And whereas Parks and Recreation creates memorable experiences through youth sports and enrichment activities, teen centers and programs, senior activity centers, adult fitness and enrichment programs, free community events, and beyond. And whereas Parks and Recreation fosters social cohesiveness in communities by celebrating diversity, providing spaces to come together peacefully, modeling compassion, promoting social equity, connecting social networks, and ensuring all people have access to its benefits. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports human development and endless learning opportunities that foster social, intellectual, physical, and emotional growth in people of all ages and abilities. Who wrote this? This is a long one.
Why do you think I had you say?
Whereas Parks and Recreation supports human development and endless learning opportunities that foster social, intellectual, physical, and emotional growth in people of all ages and abilities. And whereas Parks and Recreation strengthens community identity by providing facilities and services that reflect and celebrate community character, heritage, culture, history, aesthetics, and landscape. And whereas Parks and Recreation facilitates community problems and issues resolutions by providing safe spaces to come together peacefully and serving as key points of service, helping our communities heal both physically and emotionally. And man, I better take a deep breath. Whereas Parks and Recreation sustains and stewards our national resources by protecting habitats and open space, connecting people to nature, and promoting the ecological function of parkland. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports safe, vibrant, attractive, progressive communities that make life better through positive alternatives offered in the recreational opportunity. And whereas Parks and Recreation remains versatile and innovative in providing vital services to communities through local, national, or global emergencies, all while adhering to guidelines set forth by governing agencies. And just another page. Did you write that? I think she did it on purpose. Whereas the California Park and Recreation Society has released a statewide public awareness campaign, Parks Make It Life Better. They sure do. To inform citizens of the many benefits of utilizing parks, facilities, programs, and services, now therefore be it resolved that the citizens of California recognize the importance of access to local parks, trails, open space, and facilities for the health, wellness, development, inspiration, and safety of all Californians. And be it further resolved that we declare the month of July as Parks Make Life Better month. And be it further known that the City Council of Selma does hereby proclaim and declare the month of July 2025 as Parks Make Life Better month. Thank you.
Um, you want me to print pen? Just
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Councilmember Oseguera. So, July is Parks Make Life Better month, and in our profession, it's just, we get a whole month to celebrate. And so on July 18th is, Park and Recreational Professional Day. And so, we do plan on celebrating internally. I think the work that our department does here is amazing. And we have a really great team that just really puts everything, out of their heart into our community, and just wants to make a change and just wants to be able to provide those services for everybody that we come across. And so thank you, council, and thank you to the community for allowing us to continue to do our job. And I hope that we're making you all proud. There is one little tidbit that I wanted to share with you guys. So the California Parks and Recreation Society is the big umbrella that our small little department kind of falls under. And so this month, what they're doing is they have provided a hotline. And so anybody from the community is able to call this hotline and just leave a 3-minute voicemail, up to 3-minute voicemail, just explaining a memory or giving somebody a thank you for something that they have experienced at a park. And so I will be sharing that information on our social media. They're going to be collecting all these voicemails and then sharing them with the state of California, and they're going to be using it for data collection and for all that good stuff. The legislation that we have that helps our department succeed and get more funding, and to preserve our spaces and all that good stuff. And so I encourage anybody who has had a wonderful experience at one of our parks to call in and just give an explanation. Maybe you enjoyed a nice shady tree, or maybe you enjoyed playing at one of our parks, or you have a fond memory of participating in one of our events. And so those things definitely mean a lot to us. We love to hear the stories. And so I hope that you guys join us in the month of July in celebrating Parks Make Life Better month. Thank you.
You guys want to stand up? This might be landscape, chief. Not portrait. Right, landscape. What do you think about? Good job, Matt. Good job. That'll probably be the last time Councilman Oseguera agrees to do a presentation, so you did a great job. We'll get you to do some more. That will move on to item 2 of our special presentations, and this will be a special presentation presented by Sonia Hall of Granted Solutions, and this is a proposal for grant writing.
Hi, thank you, Mayor, council members. Thank you for having me here today. I have given you all a proposal that you can look at your own time, but also I've given you just a little PowerPoint basically on paper that I wanted to go through today. And it's just about Granite Solutions. And so I've been writing grants actually for the last 20, 21, 22 years. And even when I've worked for cities, I have written grants the whole time. Even as a city manager, I still continue to write grants for the city. And so after leaving, I had continued to work as in the business, and I have been writing grants for other cities. And I wanted to just continue to be here in the valley and share my services with Selma, especially the services that I have provided. The partly are actually, if you continue to go to the next page, the services I provide not only are grant writing and funding research, but also project development. When I say project development, I mean the reason why I'm able to not just go in and write the grants. I don't do what normal grant writers do when they have a grant. You say you want a grant, and then they send you questions. I'm able to come in and develop the project because I'm so familiar with cities, the inner working of a city, but because of my last 10 years, 12 years of working in a city. So I know all of the city departments and I know what cities need. So I'm able to come in and help the city develop these projects. And I also work in community outreach, partnership creation, and I really like to get into the community and help you in developing those partnerships. So I'm on the page Why Granite Solutions. Rather than trying to represent scores of clients scattered throughout the state, I have focused my attention on just a few clients because I really want to focus on these clients. I'm not the kind of company that wants to be a grant mill. I like to focus on these clients. I want to be able to not just submit the grants, but see the grants through. Help you administer the grants, help you see these projects through, make sure these projects get done. Because the last thing I want to do is submit the grant and then the grant comes and you don't have the time to get it started, or you don't have the capacity to get the project moving. I want to be able to help you make sure that that gets done. So I do offer other services. That's also, it comes with housing services. So I do housing, first time home buyer, owner, occupy, rehab. So I also offer all those services as well with administering those programs. So, and ADU That's another one as well. Now, on the list where qualifications are, I want to focus on that because just myself alone, I've written over 500 successful grants that have been funded totaling over 580 million. Now, just the last year that I was in Parlier, that I want to use that as an example. That year, they were funded 3 million in CDBG, to 350 million or 350,000 transportation planning, 1 million in Calhome, 225 COPS, 3 million in BSCC, 3.5 million for park, 6 million for CEQA projects, that totaling 17 million in 1 year. And so, and then there were some other little ones I didn't count, but that's just in 1 year. And I want to be able to do that for you. There's some upcoming grants. One of them is land and water conservation, and that's coming up and it's due August 5th. And there's another one in August as well. It's CalVIP. CalVIP is a specialized grant. It's for the police department. That one is only eligible to certain cities that have high violence. And they list the cities, and Selma is on that list. And so I wanted to also make sure that you knew about that grant. You were eligible to apply last year, and I sent that information to your city manager last year. I was trying to get him to apply. And so I just wanted to make sure that you do apply this year. It's a high amount that you're able to get for that one. So the return on investment, I added up all the grants I got for one city, and looking at that 100 million and the fees that were paid to me and consultant fees, it's a remarkable return of $333 for every dollar invested in services. So I just wanted to go over those points. You can go over the proposal. Do you have any questions?
Definitely. Thank you, Ms. Hall, for coming out. Really appreciate it. You've been in the city life and involved in city government for how many years?
Well, since 2004.
2004. And I too thought you were part of California Consulting. What is Granite Solutions? Is that your company or is that another company?
California Consulting subcontracts me. So
Granite Solutions is your company and you're the owner, you're the sole proprietor
Yes.
of Granite Solutions. Okay. Do you have
And-
any other grant writers working?
I do,
With you?
and they're listed in there, in the
Okay.
proposal.
And then, so not only would you help get the city the grant, would you also administer the grant or would that be
Yes.
extra?
No. I could administer it too, and it's paid through out of the grant.
And then I'm looking at your fee structure because that's what I always go to first in any proposal. And it looks like you have two options here. One is a monthly retainer of $4,000 a month. That's regardless of how many grants you get us.
Exactly.
And then the option two is a monthly retainer and commission, which is $1,000 a month plus 3% commission. I mean, a lot of the grants that are out there are pretty darn big. So I mean, if
It's
for a
better
four-
to do the 4,000.
yeah, so a $4 million grant. So is there option three where you would say the $1,000 a month, 3% commission subject to a certain ceiling, like
yeah.
certain amount?
Yes.
Because,
No,
can't be paying
There would be a
120,000.
ceiling. There definitely would be a ceiling.
So that's negotiable too.
That is. And also it can also be negotiated to be paid through the administration.
Explain that.
So to make sure that the mission is paid through the administration. It can be paid through the grant.
Through the grant itself, through the disbursement of the grant funds rather than
Yes.
the
Rather than
city paying separately.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Council have any Other questions at this time?
I do, Ms. Holt. You mentioned the grant for the police department. Do you know what what the amount is?
It's between 1 million to 5 million.
Else?
For city staff, do we know if we ever received a grant for, or this type of grant? Did we receive one last year or did we even apply?
Councilman Garrett, so each grant has different qualifications and reporting requirements, things of that nature. It's hard to tell. There's always grants that come out. It's just dependent on what those grant requirements are, the focus of the grant. So it's hard to tell exactly which grant that they're speaking about. Additionally, there's things that we just don't qualify. I'm interested to see the list that lists Selma as a high violent crime
Crime,
city,
yeah.
because I've never seen that list. So, given we've reduced crime 35% over the last 2 years, I'd really like to see that list because it evades me.
It's the number of shootings.
Again, I don't see where I've never heard of any grant that lists the number of shootings as a requirement. But again, you know, there's numerous grants out there that are thrown out, state, federal. We'd have to see which grant exactly they're speaking about.
Yeah.
So
So did we receive any grants last year in regards to? I remember the grant for the body cams, but that was.
no, we didn't. We tried to get body camera grants.
Mhm.
We got a BSCC grant for health and wellness. We've gotten BSCC grants for other items, youth prevention, which we're going to use in this coming fiscal year. Before I got here, we had a Burns grant. We just concluded that last fiscal year, not this fiscal year, last fiscal year. There was still some remnants of that we use for overtime. We've gotten OTS grants, and again, numerous grants, Councilmember Guerra. It's hard to, sometimes those grants will bleed over from one fiscal year to the next fiscal year, depending on spending and the parameters of those grants. Currently, we were applying for grants, federal grants, however, based on the grant funding parameters, we're not going to be eligible for those grants.
I can add to that, Chief. We did have the Homeland Security Grant, ACT program, tobacco grant, and we had a wellness grant totaling about $500,000, which we are still managing right now. That's on top of the $12.3 million in grants that we're already managing. And I think we were recently awarded another $1.3 million for ATP for additional trail along Orange Avenue through our grants manager. So as far as the Cal VIP grant, I'm with the police chief. We'll investigate and see if we do qualify. The number of shootings or something along those lines, we'd have to check the minimum requirements for that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Councilmember, additionally, some of those grants say that there's $200 million available, but that's nationwide, divvied up between all the people,
Right.
All the cities that are applying for those grants.
Yeah.
So even though there's $200 million in the pot, if, 1,000 cities get that,
Yeah.
depending on the population, all that will go towards how that allotment is divvied up
Sure.
Per city. So again, I know that this year there's going to be significant challenges with grants, especially federal grants,
Right.
based on the grant parameters that were being brought to our attention.
So is that specified for, do you know if it's specified for California only or is that nationwide?
This is all California.
Just
Yeah,
California?
this is just California.
Thank you.
Any
All
further questions?
the nationwide ones were due today or yesterday. Yeah, they were, one thing about them is there were some parameters on that they all were due on the same day, almost all of the Department of Justice they all had the same deadline, so it was an interesting time.
In terms of the way you, do your business, would you come to us once a month, once a quarter to give us a report on
I
how many grants you're applying for and, where you are and how you feel, the chances we have of landing those grants and all that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then which cities do you currently represent for grant
Right
writing?
now, I represent the city of Huron, Newberry Springs, and Yolo County.
Thank you. Public have any questions for Ms. Hall tonight? Okay. Member?
You were in government 2004, correct?
What was that?
You were in government, you were in,
Well, I started working for grant writing for government.
oh, okay.
2000, for that's the first time, that's when I first started writing for City of Parlier, actually.
Oh, okay.
And then I started working for government, actual cities in 2012. I went to work for Madeira.
So, so actually, well, you actually know the rules of the rural areas then as far as grants and stuff, the structure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, during that time frame, yes, you're quite, I would say, educated in that field.
Yes.
Okay. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Hall. Appreciate your presentation tonight.
Thank you.
And with that, we will move on to our consent calendar. All items listed under the consent calendar category are considered routine. The complete consent calendar will be enacted by one motion by roll call vote for purposes of discussion. Any council member may have an item removed from the consent calendar and made part of the regular agenda. Council can then approve the remainder of the consent calendar. Does council have any items they would like removed tonight from the consent calendar?
Yeah, I like the question, 22,
2-4,
22A,
2-2?
22.
Did you want to take out 2-4 the check register as well?
Yeah, 224
Okay.
as well.
Is there a motion to approve items 2-1, 2-3, 2-5, 2-6, 2-7, and 2-8?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull 2-8.
Okay.
Wait.
Is there a motion to approve items 2-1, 2-3, 2-5, 2-6, and 2-7?
I'll make a motion. 1 second. Wait.
Okay.
Either way.
Call the roll, please. First, second.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, Councilmember Avalos, 2-2.
Yeah, the reason why I pulled this on the fire department here, on the overtime, is that, I want to say, is that going out to fires? Or is that going out to fires, put out fires, or just the ambulance?
So the Cal OES mechanism is for reimbursement that's used for the fire service when we go to state incidents. We're all risk. So that could be mudslides, could be wildland campaign fires. Recently, we've seen an influx. There's been some opportunities for ambulances to participate in strike teams. So this specifically brought before you tonight is very specific to a reclassification. We were division chiefs, so that reclassification to battalion chiefs is in this resolution, as well as the inclusion of EMS supervisor and our single role paramedics and EMTs. So this is simply an agreement between us and Cal OES stating that we would be reimbursed from the time our personnel leave to the time our personnel get back. Right now, those individuals or those classifications of employees aren't listed in our reimbursement structure. So we want to include those so we don't miss out on opportunities to participate in emergency events that take place in the state.
Okay, the next question I'm gonna ask you, okay, the reclassification, and what you have in the past. Okay, when you get the reimbursement, what I call reimbursement from the state, in the case of national fire, what is the time frame when you get the reimbursement? What is the normal time frame?
So previously, that's a loaded question. Previously, it was
3, 4 months?
substantially longer. No, we're with, so it was approximately 300 days. It was quite some time. So it was paper. So over the last 2 seasons, the state has worked out some kinks and they've moved to a digital system. So now everything's done online. To give you, I'd have to get back to you, to be honest with you. I know it's much sooner. I want to say it's somewhere in the 90 to 100 days. I can't be certain. I would
Yeah.
need to come back to you with that.
Okay, the question is, okay, let's say you're out on the front line putting the fire out, there's overtime. They're paying, when you turn the hours in, is it the hours as far as overtime or the straight 8 hours?
No,
Or
it's
12 hours
so
shift, I should say.
we call it, the term we use and the term that's in the grant or in the agreement is portal to portal, meaning we are paid from the moment that our personnel leave the city of Selma to the time that they are back. And then sometimes even including time to rehab our equipment. So if there's equipment that needs to be cleaned or the equipment that's been damaged that we need to repair, that's also included.
And the next question is, what made you change this format? How come you just didn't leave it alone? Let me ask that question.
As far as why are we including our single world partner, our EMS folks in this agreement? So
Would it be a cost effective the other way, or
sorry, repeat that.
as far as cost effective, cost wise to the city, would it be?
Uh, it's, it's not our motive to necessarily make a profit, but it's our motive to participate in events if we have personnel and resources available to provide that to, outlying areas, especially i.e. The incidents that took place in Southern California earlier in the year. More locally, there was the Madera Hospital that was actually, for lack of a better term, shut down. The unit or the LIMSA, the local EMS agencies kind of banded together to move those patients from Madera Hospital to outlying or out to other hospitals. And that was all done through essentially a strike team of ambulances. Participating in something like that is something that we want to do. We want to kind of help each other.
Well, now, I mean, myself, I like, if you're gonna train somebody to fight fires and everything, the already the commanders and the lieutenants, they've done this. It's the young people that haven't done it that need the skill training. I believe in not holding those gentlemen back and put them on the strike team out there putting fire so they can learn. There's an old saying, the best skill learning is on the job training. Correct?
I don't disagree.
All right. Solid. I'm asking that question. Thank you.
So if I'm understanding correctly, Chief, if you, before, when you sent ambulances out for these wildfires, you were at risk for getting paid for ambulance because it wasn't included in the MOU. By just changing this paperwork,
Correct.
now you've added a greater degree of certainty that such services provided for those emergencies will be reimbursable
Yes, sir.
by the OEM.
And accurately.
And accurately.
Yes.
Good. Is there a motion to?
Oh, I just have a quick, so it is, I mean, it's a benefit for you folks.
100%.
Perfect. Okay. So the pay structure, just so that I'm correct, does it have to go through a third party before you folks get paid, or,
No,
or
it's
does it
done
go
through the state.
directly
It's
from the
done
state?
through the state, yes.
Perfect. Okay.
Any questions from the public about item 2.2? Anybody online or on the phone with a question about this consent calendar item? It's no longer a consent item.
Mayor, I see no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. With that, is there a motion to approve item 2.2?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Wait.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem got the second.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Okay, agenda item 2.4 now. Councilmember Avalos.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, got to turn the mic on. Apologize. No, I just wanted to, on the check register 87154, Quadnoff, on their bill, on their professional services. is this a, how would I say, this a standard price every month? Or just whatever the project is needed, am I correct?
This is, Quadnoff is currently serving to, as a professional services contract to update the city's engineering standards. And so this would be set scope not to exceed. So this is billed at a monthly rate based off the number of hours charged. So it will not exceed the amount that was identified in our budget, which was 25,000 to update the city's engineering standards. So it will not be a standard amount. It'll be based off the amount of work that's done for that specific project.
So, okay, since I got you there, Jerome. So every project basically will Quadnoff analyzes it, looks at it, or how's that roll?
Quadnoff specifically is contracted by the city to update specific master plans. There'll be a master plan coming to the city council in the form of the Parks Master Plan here in an upcoming meeting, which Quadnoff prepared. This was part of our engineering RFP that was solicited at the beginning of 2023, where we ended up contracting with Yamabe and Horn for city engineering services, for Creeks for engineering plan check services. So they review projects as they come in. And Quadnoff to update specific master plans, storm drain master plan, parks master plan, engineering standard and specifications. So this is part of that contract that was identified in 2023.
Okay, okay, I understand. Okay, I get it now. Okay. No questions remain, I know.
Is that good? I had a question. The date on the Cal card is 4/21 to 5/22. Why the delay on that? Why is it a couple months after the fact that we're looking at the Cal card? Usually the check register is like current. This one is a little far behind.
Yeah, it looks like by the time we get the statements and get all the backup, it just got delayed, but we try to pay in a timely manner. So 5/22, so it's only a month later. We'll be getting the new one for the end of June, coming on the next check run.
All right, thank you. Any other questions
I
tonight?
have one too, and it's check number 87140 for Norman Tubb Associates. And it says Eternal Affair Investigation for 10,500, or excuse me, 10,005. What was that for?
Exactly as stated, it was an internal affairs investigation through HR.
Recently or?
Yeah, it's an ongoing investigation.
Any members of the public with a question about the check register? Anybody online or on the phone with a question about the check register?
Mayor, I see no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve this item?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I made a motion.
Councilman Avalos.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Item 2.8, Councilmember Trujillo.
Just pulling it for the purposes of voting, Mr. Mayor. I have no questions and no concerns, just for the vote. So we
Okay.
just put it for.
City Attorney, to what degree is this relative to the agenda item that is about the that is concerning the fire chief's employment agreement tonight?
um, uh, in great detail, the various terms we wanted for a new agreement for our fire chief. His present agreement at the time was ineffective to provide him with any form of severance payment. So we corrected that by making the term a 5-year term as he specifically requested and the council by consensus agreed to. And it just basically incorporates his now current salary according to the salary schedules that you approved at your last meeting.
Okay. And to what degree will that be reflective of agenda item 5.1, which is a reading of the ordinance 2025-08, amending the duties of the fire chief?
The contract is drafted specifically to be consistent with the new ordinance. If you look at the, I guess it's 5.4 maybe, the ordinance for the chief of police, you'll see in there one sentence that isn't in the fire chief's ordinance. And it basically says that to the extent the chief's existing contract conflicts with the ordinance, the contract controls. And that's because you're simply bound by the contract and you can't change that.
Which
by
predated the
ordinance.
ordinance change. Got it.
When we get there, I'm going to suggest that we eliminate that provision and that you allow me to work with the chief, which he has agreed to do, to change his contract without really changing any of the material terms, just to make it consistent with the ordinance. And the overall ordinances really only do one thing, and that is to make the city council the appointing authority so that any appointment of a new chief or any adverse employment action against the current chief or a future chief has to go through the city council, and the city council gets to vote on that.
So this is part of the process to bring this in alignment with most of the cities in Fresno County, where the city councils have input over the appointment and the potential termination of the two most visible public safety positions in the city. Is that correct?
That is correct, except with respect to, I think, the city of Fresno.
Thank you. Is there any, are there any questions from the public on this item 2.8 before we bring it back to council? Is there anybody online or on the phone with a comment or question about this agenda item?
Mayor, I see no hands raised at this time.
Thank you, sir. But that will bring the matter back to council. If there's no more discussion, is there a motion to approve item 2.8 of the
I'll
consent
make a
calendar?
motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Avalos.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera.
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo.
No.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. Item passes, and we will move on to departmental reports. Our first report of the night is from the city manager. Thank you, sir.
Good job.
And before we move on from that, thought we'd just add this to your hopper tonight. There's been some talk about the Mid-Valley and the discussion regarding the pickup, the trash cleanup days, which have traditionally been held in October and April. And so this year, in order to, since we have a new provider, and there's been a little bit of back and forth on this. I mean, we had one day of pickup in the last, the last time, which was, I think, in April. In order to nail this down and provide the maximal service, maximum public service to the city residents, the city is going to have the two of our council members attend a meeting with representatives of Mid-Valley to discuss this and then bring their findings back to the public and to the council so that we can decide and take action on this. And those two council members will be Councilmember Oseguera and Councilmember Avalos. We thank you for your extra work on this. We know you'll represent us well. Thank you. And moving on to the city attorney, do you have anything?
Yes, Council Member Guerra asked me to look into adopting a similar pilot program to the one adopted by the city of Fresno, basically to encourage the rehab or occupancy of vacant commercial buildings. I looked into that. You'll be happy to know the city of Selma is way ahead of the game than the city of Fresno. We have, I believe it's a Title 8, Chapter 11. We have a requirement that if you have a vacant residence, you are required to register with us, and you are required to allow us to do things like inspect your building and monitor your building, and you're required to, annually or semi-annually report to us what your plans are for either selling that building or occupying that building. So all we would really need to do, and that's really all the city of Fresno's, they did this by resolution, so it's of questionable validity. It really needs to be in an ordinance. But you could take your existing ordinance that is applicable to residential structures and just change it so that it is also applicable to vacant commercial structures. And those persons would henceforth be required to register with us, report to us, comply with our demands to the extent we can make them relative to bringing the building into compliance with our codes. So I was planning on just altering the existing statutes or the existing ordinance so that it is applicable to commercial as well as residential structures. That ordinance was adopted at the point in time where there was the financial crisis. I think it was about 2012, something like that, when they had all these residences foreclosed on because of the.
Yeah.
So we adopted that in response to that event, and given the fact that that event has now passed, we should probably make it applicable to any vacant building. I think this one is really, it already is applicable to any vacant residential building, but it's really focused on structures that have been foreclosed upon. And so we have, and there's a lot of provisions relating to banks and but that are foreclosing on property, and we require them to foreclose in a certain way. But we would retain all those provisions and just simply add to them to make the registration and monitoring requirements applicable to any kind of vacant residence, any kind of vacant commercial building.
Does that even extend to parking lots? Like vacant parking lots?
Well, you're talking
Or
about Rite
vacant
Aid.
lots, just lots in general?
No. It applies to something that is a structure. A vacant lot in general is going to have problems either with weeds
Right.
or debris. People tear down the structure that's there and they leave it there. Those things are fire hazards.
Right.
And those things you take care of them individually, because we have in our ordinances currently a summary nuisance abatement procedure where we can go through an administrative hearing, not even go to the court, and we can order the person to either the person is ordered to uh, clean up the property,
Right.
abate the nuisance. And if the person doesn't do so, we do it for them, and we slap the cost of doing that on the tax rolls, and we're ultimately paid for that by the county. But that is the way you would deal with things like Rite Aid, for example.
Right.
We could initiate a summary abatement proceeding on that. We'd give them a citation, basically. We then set up an administrative hearing if they challenge it. And the outcome of the administrative hearing, if in fact there are nuisance conditions out there, such as weeds and things like that, or that are an eyesore and that are a fire hazard, they will typically order them to abate that nuisance. And if they fail to comply within a certain amount of time, we simply take care of it for them.
How is that different from the graffiti ordinance that we passed where the city goes in and takes care of it after a certain amount of time? Is similar process?
Very, very similar. Both of those are nuisances. The graffiti is a nuisance because it tends to foster illegal, typically gang activity. Plus it's an eyesore. And it is a nuisance, but it's a specific type of nuisance.
The
And
difference is the city doesn't charge for the abatement of the graffiti within a certain amount of time, but the city would charge for the abatement of overhanging trees and limbs which present a fire hazard. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions, council member? Okay, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay. Deputy City Manager.
If I could add to that, I think the city attorney makes a clear distinction that the housing downturn in 2008 was the premise for the abandoned proper residential ordinance that has specific provisions in state law for fines. I think it's up to $1,000 a day that you could fine the bank for non-registering or maintaining the property. So I don't know, we would coordinate with your office about what fines would align with an abandoned commercial property, correct?
Well, we would come up with a fine, and that's simply a matter of the council. There are typically statutory parameters. You can't charge them,
Okay, and so, just a clear distinction, our nuisance abatement and our administrative process set out what those fines are. They're typically like $100 and then they double, I believe, 100, 200, maybe 500. The difference between the residential property registration was to prevent banks from purchasing property and neglecting property, and that's why their fines start at $1,000 a day. And so there would be a clear difference in that fining structure, I think.
right, so you would go through that existing ordinance and you would alter things to fit into the current statutory framework.
Just wanted to piggyback on that to make sure there's a clear distinction between nuisance abatement and the limits of the fines, because you do see $1,000 a day in the residential property abatement for the abandoned registration ordinance. And so I just want to make sure that when we draft that, it's not $1,000 a day per se for the commercial properties. Apart from that, nothing to report.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager. City Clerk.
Nothing to report, Mayor.
Okay. Finance Director Moreno.
Yes, Mayor. So before you, we have your printed copy of the budget for you. The finance staff completed that today, so make sure that's for your records. Take home.
Thank you, Director. Quick question. Are you getting through the all the budget and the late nights and all the long hours to a point where you can start looking at the debt that the city has in order to manage that debt, maybe put together the 4 different major debt structures that the city has right now, just to take a look at that to see if the city could do better with 1 payment or 2 payments instead of 4?
Okay, yeah, there's a couple of advisors out there that can help out in managing our portfolio, and I'm looking into that.
Great, thank you. Fire Chief.
Nothing to report other than just commending our crews for participating in the Firestone incident, which threatened some structures in the city of Kalinga earlier in the month. And we sent an engine with 3 members, and they obviously represented the city and our fire department very well.
So we have our Fire Chief Webster, and we have 2 fire chiefs underneath with battalion chiefs. Three.
Yes. Yep.
Very good. And in terms of the fire, I saw there was some black smoke today.
There our crews went to two today. So we had a shed, an outbuilding on the west side of town near the 43 Rose neighborhood. And then our crews and myself also went to just on the outskirts of town, off of Academy for a structure fire as well.
So we see those, you know, when we see that black smoke coming up, and it may not be in Selma, you encourage the public to call 911 and report it that there's something going on out there, and then let the dispatcher determine
Absolutely,
who
that
to
is
send out.
That is the best form of communication. Our dispatch informs us, the crews that are hopefully already responding. There's multiple callers, and that tends to heighten our awareness. Obviously, if we can't see it or we don't know what we're going to, having multiple callers just reaffirms that this is, significant.
And finally, since we're going on, probably the biggest reporting time for the fire department for the year, July 3rd and 4th, do you encourage the public to give the fire department a call if they see illegal fireworks going on around there?
They see illegal fireworks. Don't use the station, we typically, sometimes we'll see people call the fire stations. Specifically on the 3rd and 4th, we're fairly busy and we're out and about.
Oh.
Whether we're on incidents or even just patrolling to make sure that people are being safe and using the appropriate celebration tactics. So if in the event that somebody needs to report something, utilizing the 911 system is also important. And is the
would they
right
be
path.
calling PD or would they be calling fire
If
specifically?
they utilize the 911 system, it'll be directed to the appropriate resources.
Councilmember Avalos?
I do. Quick question. I haven't seen it around for a while. That Jeep, Cannon we have in our city, it's like you could drive it like a Jeep and it's like a Cannon.
Oh, you're referring to our squad. That will be staffed for the 3rd.
I haven't seen it in a while.
So we typically use that due to its off-road capabilities,
Has the
for the,
capability off the freeway, you put the brush fire out.
yes, sir.
It's ideal.
Yes, absolutely. So we use that due to the nature of our calls, depending on the season, we staff those accordingly.
Are you ready to roll?
I will say this, it's always cross-staffed.
I'm
So
just
the members that
checking
are
you
on
guys.
on our
This is the
truck-
fire season. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
I assure you, you will see that out and
right.
about.
I have my eye on you.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep,
Police Chief Alcaraz?
Nothing to report.
In terms of fireworks, Police Chief Alcaraz, 3rd and 4th of July, what are some typical calls you get, and what do you encourage the public how to respond? Because a lot of people get upset, you hear boom, boom, it's a bunch of explosions out there for the 3rd and the 4th.
Correct. So, I believe we have, personnel to be out for the 4th or the 3rd of July fireworks show. And on the 4th, we'll have personnel out, doing compliance for fireworks. Just recommend that, if citizens are able to pinpoint the exact location that it's coming from, to call us and, we'll dispatch an officer. And then really just give a statement to help ensure that we're, citing the proper people. We'll be working with the fire department. Thing is, it's a fire hazard, and so that's kind of what we recommend people to do.
Got it. And then since Animal Services is part of the PD, how do you recommend, what should people do when their animals get out because they've heard fireworks and they, run away in terror? What's the protocol there? Will Animal Services be on call that night, or PD on call for animals that they see that have gotten out, which happens like every 3rd and 4th of July?
So we've not scheduled Animal Services to be out that evening. I'd imagine animals that get out are going to come back soon once the ruckus goes away. Animals are pretty keen on where they belong. I would just recommend people plan ahead and make sure that they have a safe place for those animals. I know there's medications that are out there that I'll give my animals medication prior to, and then put them into the house somewhere where they're more isolated from that exterior noise. Because typically, at least in my house, we're not letting off fireworks in the house. So those things can help. Just make sure that their properties are secured, so that it's more difficult for those animals to get out if they're not interior animals. That's my recommendation.
And for people watching, Chief, is there any reclaim fee during the 3rd of July, or can you go get your animal if they do somehow wind up at the animal shelter without a penalty?
No, Mayor, and we'll put something out on social media in
Okay.
the next, coming days, saying, hey, these are some tips that you can do to help avoid your animal from getting away. Typically, we don't cite owners if they're not habitual. However, it's funny you mentioned this. We are going to start citing owners where animals are habitually getting out of their property, and start to use enforcement to gain compliance. Because just returning an animal back to the property owner, and if they're not, unfortunately, if they're not hitting their pocketbook, they're not going to comply. And we're getting to a point where we have several properties where animals are continually getting out. We're returning those animals to the property owner. We're going to start using enforcement to help gain compliance.
Thank you.
I have a
Public
quick
Works.
question, sorry,
Go for it.
for the chief. If they get caught using illegal fireworks, is it still a fine of 1,000? Or what's the fine?
Yes, ma'am.
$1,000?
Yeah,
I
yes,
hope
ma'am.
everyone hears that, because I think you guys fined about 15 people last year.
You wanna speak on that?
I want to say it's $12,000. The year before was $18,000.
Yeah.
We've been very successful over the past few years. We're hoping that we've kind of set the tone that we're taking this serious, and we're using our resources appropriately to gain compliance with these property owners. We're hoping that works, obviously, but we'll put some PSA, public
Right.
service announcements out on social media in the coming days.
And I want to thank you, Chief, for the notification today. On a related note, downtown, right near where we worked, apparently there was a problem with someone who was pulled over, and it was in the middle of the day and it was hot, and a lot of people were watching. Thank you for letting us know, and thank you for Selma PD's professionalism in getting that done and keeping everyone safe.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I know the guys, our patrol officers do a phenomenal job maintaining their composure and dealing with critical events. So thank you so much. I'll make sure that I let them know.
Thank you. You're up, Mr. Hahn.
Where do we start?
Your coffee.
I really did.
So before, of course, the biggest thing that we want to discuss tonight is going to be the lights at Schaefer Park. But before we do that, there's a couple other things. The first thing is that now that we've finished the abatement at the Art Center for the termite infestation that we had, we need to get a structural engineer in there to start looking at under the stage where the majority of the damage was located, and just get a blessing that everything's still structurally sound. And then we'll get that thing completely back together underneath where we had to rip it apart. So we're working with Mr. Horn to try to get that structural engineer out. I saw some emails today back and forth between my supervisor Ulysses and David. So we're working on that. The other thing I want to talk about before we get into the lights is one of the things I was going to discuss tonight is the spring or the fall cleanup. I sent out an email last week to everybody. I just want to reiterate that Mid-Valley is already starting to schedule their other municipalities for this. They're willing to accommodate the 3-day event like people have asked for, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but there's some parameters there because of operational needs to do an event of that size and where they can actually do that. So I was going to bring that up. I would love if it would be okay with the council, because Assistant City Manager and myself have been involved in these weekly meetings almost since the inception of the contract a year ago. I would like to be a part, if that would be okay, of those, because I'm working with them mainly to get all of that stuff scheduled. That's kind of on my plate. So if not, that's fine, but I would love to, again, reiterate an expedited need for us to come up with, what are we going to do? They need that information. They need that information because they're scheduling those dates out. I also wanted to bring up, I'll look and make sure that I'm correct. I think he said October last year, but I believe it was November.
Used to be October. It was
Oh,
always 10 and 4, 10 and
okay.
4. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think that what we've picked, and we can discuss this with Mid-Valley, was it would be an April event and a November event. If we need to discuss October, that's fine. But I know last year, the first event they did was in November out at my yard on Nebraska Avenue. So right now, what we're looking at is November dates. We're not really, we have not discussed in our meetings an October date for fall. So if that's something that the council wants, that needs to be discussed in that meeting with Councilman Oseguera and Councilman Avalos.
So
to
what,
change
what
that
happened,
month.
how it happened was the two council members were, going to attend your meeting, your usual Wednesday meeting
Right.
with Mid Valley. The, person at Mid Valley, I believe it was Joseph Kulupkup, the owner,
Uh-huh.
countered and said he would prefer to meet with the two council members at a off-site location.
Okay.
So they'll be meeting at another location, but the city's position was to join your meeting that you have weekly. And as a gesture, I believe, to Mid Valley and their wishes, the city, the two city representatives from the council will be meeting with them at another location.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll be bringing that, what they find out, back to the council at large. And if there are further issues to expand on, I'm sure that would be a good topic for a Wednesday meeting.
Right.
But from what I understand, I think that's the way it's been requested by Mid Valley.
Okay. And I have no problem with that. And I have no problem with anyone sitting in on the meetings. I won't speak for the assistant city manager, but those meetings are very much discussing operational needs and requests coming from the council. And one thing I will bring up, Mr. Martinez was here at the last council meeting. There was, he showed proof that he had alley service from Waste Management. We started rolling out that alley. Notifications went out starting yesterday. Yeah, and it's a 2-week rollout. Just
Outstanding.
so we are what I feel meeting the requests of the council and the citizens. That man came in. It wasn't an alley that we were service. It had been discussed in previous meetings that that was not going to be. It was redded out, one of the red alleys. But after we talked to it in that meeting last Wednesday, everybody agreed, let's just roll it out and see what happens. The only parameters on that was that there are other people on that same section of pickup that were happy to go to curbside. And so the discussion last Wednesday was, we can't do 2 or 3 or 4 residents in the alley and then go around and pick up the other people on the, it's either all or nothing.
Yeah.
And so the assistant city manager and myself all agreed, like, we need to roll it out. This man's complaining. He showed proof at the council meeting that he had service prior, so we did that.
Yeah.
So we have I have no problem with anyone being involved in those meetings. They are very constructive. They last about 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes we have nothing to talk about. They're 10, 15 minutes and we're done.
Yeah.
So if we need to send a calendar invite, I will personally send that to both of you. Those are Wednesdays at 1:30, I believe. Yeah. So
Thursdays at 1:30.
is it, we moved it to Thursdays. There was
Moved
a
it to
conflict
Thursday.
with our executive team meetings that we have every Wednesday. So it's on Thursday at 1:30. So I will.
Sounds like
personally-
they're gonna be meeting with Mid Valley this time, and then if it comes back and there's some issues that need to be fleshed out with the city and with staff, I think it'll come back to the
Right.
Thursday at 1:30 meeting. But I think for now, they're gonna meet with the representatives of Mid Valley for that.
That's fine. I encourage you to do that because we really need to nail this fall date down because we need to get it advertised.
Yeah.
And we're also looking at that event. I am looking at possibly, we have a lot of people that are calling us in regards to disposal of old paint and aerosol stuff like household products. We don't take that. Mid Valley doesn't take that, but there is operational, there's stuff operationally through Fresno County that they have groups that actually you can go in. I haven't looked far enough in to know how often the events are. They have drop-off locations in Fresno County that you can take it from Selma to there. What I'm going to try to do, and I've discussed this with Mid Valley as recently as this afternoon, I want to see if at our fall event and the future events, we can actually get them to partner with us and send their group to our event so that people here in Selma can literally have that disposal location with our event and not have to travel all the way to Fresno because the events we've already had people that have come in with stuff that really shouldn't have been brought to that event. Construction debris, stuff that just obviously wasn't from like a residence cleanup. And instead of Mid Valley kicking those people away, they told them, we'll still take this material, just drive it out to our transfer station 12 miles away. People didn't want to drive 12 miles. So I think by inviting Fresno County to be a part of that, it's going to help that event as well. So I encourage that, and I look forward to hearing when you guys have that date picked.
And we'll make that definitely an agenda item at the July 15th meeting. So
Perfect.
we'll get,
Yeah, we need to
that
get it
out.
advertised as soon as possible, so I
definitely.
appreciate that. Well, again, yeah, thank you for reminding me. So I want to remind everybody that Mid-Valley does have a 2-time-a-year bulky item pickup. So if you have a bulky item, a little plug here for Mid-Valley, call Mid-Valley. You can do it up to twice a year, once every 6 months, however you want to do it. And they will come to your resident and they will pick up a refrigerator, an old washer dryer, an old couch, whatever it is. So besides our fall and spring cleanup, again, I want to remind everybody and the public and the council that that is an option. You can call Mid-Valley. They will come up and pick those items up from your home.
I have a question or just a comment, actually.
Sure.
We know that's already in place, but I know, they pick up the trash and stuff because my neighbor has a washer they put right there. I mean, they see it. Would it be possible for the driver to say, you know what, there's a...
No. So we have to understand Mid-Valley operationally, they're a huge entity. And that program is set up a way that for staffing, you have to call them. They will send the person out with a truck and trailer to pick up that. They don't want to disturb the routes. Those guys are running 10 hours a day trying to get those routes done. And when they're delayed with the smallest little things, it really operationally.
I'm not saying the truck, but the truck can report and say, look, this is, this is right here at this address. They can come and pick it up. I mean, because the people that live there, they don't speak English. Anytime they need to contact somebody, guess who contacts them?
So, Mr. Oseguera, Councilmember Oseguera, they do have Spanish-speaking people at Mid-Valley that can definitely talk to someone Spanish-speaking. And again, this is their operational procedure, and the city doesn't dictate to Mid-Valley how their operational procedure.
We'll talk to them about it.
Yeah. So, but that offer is out there. You guys can
Yeah, I
call.
mean,
Anyone
remember
can
the
call.
time when the trash can was tagged and they fined the tenant because he was supposed to let them know? Well, we talked to Mid-Valley and said, no, our driver's supposed to let us know because that's our property. So they ended up, because Rachel said that the people that pick up the trash, they have paint with them. They see one that's tagged, they get out there and they paint it right away. But nobody knew that the poor person, the tenant, they got fined and we had to fight. Actually, Mid-Valley picked up the fine for them.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know too much about that particular situation. All I can tell you, Councilmember Oseguera, is that as a director, I follow the operational procedure put before me from Mid-Valley. So, but the Mid-Valley is very open. They are very flexible. They are team players 100%. So conversations can be had, and it doesn't mean that Mr. Koploff won't change something that the city's asking them to do. I don't know, but they're very open to that. So. That's all I have as far as that. And if we're ready to go over the lighting, there's quite a bit to go over here. So
Tonight.
I would like to start with the Musco light bid that we actually got, and I actually have gone through and did some highlighting, put a little more information on that. So there was an original quote that we got from Musco. And that original quote was, let me look, just bear with me. I've got like 5 different pages pulled up here. So the original quote, no, that's not the one I'm looking for. The original quote from Musco was
27. Then it went down to 5. At 59. The
Yes,
first one was
correct.
627, right?
Correct. And then this quote, if you remember when we met with Bob from Musco, Bob said that he wanted to work with us. He was going to go back and sharpen his pencil a little bit. So Bob actually dropped the price down to $559.3, which was a difference of $45,582.95 from what the original quote was. So he gave us basically $45.5 for that portion. What he also did was he said that he would talk to his contractor. That cost is the $235,955. So if we were to procure Musco lighting system, which are the 50/30s, 25-year warranty, out the door, tax and everything, that would be 840,837.95. And I apologize, the 45,582 actually was the tax on the 559,300.
Yep.
So 840, 837, and that's with their contractor installing, and that's with the 25-year warranty, parts, labor, monitoring, everything that was discussed with council at the Schaefer Park meeting. And then what I had to do was I had to start looking at existing infrastructure, because when we buy a $750,000 lighting system, just like our city engineer, when we put out CIP projects, there are certain specifications that are required by the manufacturer for them to warranty that 25-year warranty. And reading through the requirements, there's certain things, and I'll just throw a couple out there. They want to make sure that we have certain contacts that are in our current breaker panel. They also want to know that the wire feeds to every pole from the panel, which is in the snack bar at the center of the park, all have wire that's 6 gauge that is rated for up to 90 degrees Celsius temperature. For the city to be able to go out and do a diagnostic on our existing system is kind of, I'm going to use the phrase cost prohibited. We don't even know what that would entail. And we would have to give Musco something from an engineer, like an electrical engineer, that says, hey, what they have in the ground right now, minus your system that they're going to hook up to, meets all of the requirements. And that is going to be a reach. That system was put in decades ago. We have wires that we've had shorts since I've been here in less than 2 years. So what I've also included in your packet is I did a rough order of magnitude, kind of threw the numbers together, called some vendors, talked to our electrician that we commonly use, which is Alves Electric, got his input. Mark Alves actually helped put that original system in years ago as a laborer, so he had a lot of information about it. So what I put together there is basically what the top section, the 233,680, and we will come back to that. That is not included in the Musco part. If we go Musco and use their contractor, that 233,680 is not part of that. And we'll come back to that. That's for us self-performing what their contractor would do. We'll come back to that. So the rewire feeds from panel to pole, that will have to be added to that total figure from Musco, because that is for us to go in and wreck out, pull all the old wires out, clean all the conduits out, pull all brand new 6 gauge wire that meets those requirements, and also the different feeds at the panels. So this is the number that I worked with the electrician to come up with. This includes the labor for, as you can see, the PW staff to assist Alves Electric to actually do that work. So you have to add the 5580 to that Musco cost of 840, 837. I have a calculator with me. You're basically, you're under 930,000.
You add the 55 to the 840, so it's not
Right.
grand much all in.
So
This is installed Thursday.
everyone sitting up there met, except for Councilmember Trujillo, met with Musco. You got the rundown from them. I've sent you the literature. We've looked through the warranty. We understand the warranty 100%. I am looking for umbrella policies, Mr. Mayor. That is a reach, man. And I'll tell you, the best one I found so far is $700 a month, and it's only a 12-year added warranty to the 1 or 5 year warranty on the aftermarket stuff that we'll go to next.
8,400 a year then?
It's, yes,
Get
correct.
higher or lower?
It does not reduce. That's and it's through a company called, you might have heard of them, Trinity.
There are a lot of warranty.
They do a warranty, umbrella policies. They do HVAC
It might be
system.
Light Shield or something. Car show. Kidding.
That's a weird market. Doing a little bit of research, it's very interesting. It's a very specific market, and the people that are in that market are doing very well.
Oh, yeah.
So So next we can go to the aftermarket material that I'm looking at with LED lighting supply. Actually have had conversations with Joe yesterday and today. This thing really, I didn't get in touch with this guy until last Thursday. Found him on the internet when I was looking at all the other aftermarket. This is actually a company that manufactures this stuff. So this is a made in America. But again, his warranty is a year on the poles and 5 years on the lights. They and his whole pitch to me when we first spoke on the phone, he said, "Have you talked to anybody?" And I said, "Yeah, I've talked to Musco and I've talked to Bradford." Musco's already given me quotes and a schematic and layout from engineering. Bradford is working on it. We haven't received it yet. And his comment was, "Well, we're the direct competitors with Musco." And I said, "Great, send me what you've got." Gave him the information about the park. They got online, they did their stuff, sent me his quotes. And as you can see, quote, the quote for the lights is 170,863. And that's not including tax. It says tax to be determined. And then the quote for the poles was $81,777. So you're right around the 280 without tax. Okay, and that, if we go that route, that's what we discussed at Schaefer in our meeting, that would have to be self-performed by city staff, which means that we will still have to do, if we want to try to use the old foundations, we still will have to do the pull testing with no guarantee that they're going to work. And if they don't work, we're looking at adding the foundation system and all that other stuff. So I'm going to say, and my recommendation at this point, from everything that I have looked at for warranty, for the cost and the cost effectiveness of what we're getting, I still am going to recommend the Musco system. Number one, I made a comment, and I'm not going to redact the comment, but the comment, Mr. Mayor, was that there's nothing that my staff can't do. We have to come up with a good, safe game plan, and we can do it. When I did the comparison to the install from the contractor that works with Musco and my cost, and it was before I saw the revised quote from Bob at Musco with the contractor cost, I was $4,000 cheaper, and I did not see their number. That was my rough order of magnitude quote. For me personally, I have staff that's never done that work before. That $4,000, that is cheap insurance, man. I say past that, don't tie up the city staff for $4,000. Let their contractor do it. Let them be liable for it and not us. So that, again, that's my recommendation at this time. I don't think that I think there's too much risk of things unforeseen or that we're not familiar with as far as public works staff doing that job. I'm confident we could, but for $4,000, I am not willing to take that risk. That is my opinion on that. I'm definitely open to discuss that with the council. But again, I want to look at Bradford and see what they come up with, because I believe that Bradford truly is a direct competitor with Musco, because I've read extensively what that company does, and they set their systems up almost identical.
What's the timeline on this New Hampshire company?
So he was trying to get it to me before the meeting tonight, and he couldn't get it done. I got an email, and then he told me he was hoping to have it to me by tomorrow. The second that I get that, I will publish that to all of you, including the city manager and assistant city manager. And
time value of the money, directors, you well know, their time value of time. There's a
Absolutely.
value to time. That's what I meant to
Absolutely.
say. We got leagues coming in. It's going to be November before we know it. And we already hit the summer solstice. So the days are growing just a bit shorter every day. And we're going to need that light. We're going to need those lights here. So we can, definitely we want to take the time to make the best decision possible for the city. But I think time is a factor in that decision.
I agree 100%. Sir, I can tell you that since October of last year and all the questions that have been coming and the citizens sending emails, I want those. That is the top of my priority list right now. 100%.
And then the Bradford, mean, you anticipate receiving those by next week?
I will have Bradford, he's hoping to have it to me by tomorrow. He sent me an email earlier this afternoon, said he was not going to get it to me before the meeting tonight, but that he was trying to get it to me by tomorrow. The second I have it, it will be this week for sure. And I will publish that as soon as I get it.
Okay. Council have any, questions for the Public Works Director at this time?
Are you gonna be discussing the lights downtown, or are we gonna wait till we do
Sign
the,
up for it.
It's an agenda item.
oh, you're gonna stick around? I just wanna make sure.
I'm staying, I'm not going anywhere.
All right, thank you.
I gotta back this guy up.
All right,
Any
We'll
other
be
questions?
definitely asking you when it comes to those lights about Public Works being on.
Those questions can all go to the city manager or the city engineer, I'm sorry.
Right.
No, you can send them to the city manager too, he doesn't mind.
City
Hey.
manager, city manager it is. All right, so, in terms of what we're looking at here, Musco is just so much more expensive than this internet-based company,
Correct.
but with a 25-year warranty and them installing it, the certainty that this will be done and it'll be done right and it'll be done within the time frame and done on time
Yeah.
is probably of a higher magnitude than ordering the lights off the internet with a 1-year warranty on the poles and a 5-year warranty on the lighting. Is that correct?
100%.
Plus
Yes, sir.
they monitor the
That is
system
correct.
for 25 years.
Yeah, so I'll remind, because the public wasn't a part of that meeting, so I can speak out loud so anyone listening understands. The Musco system, once that system is installed and accepted by Musco, which is another reason why we would want their contractor to do it preferably over us, that's their contractor. So as soon as it's completed, that job's final. As soon as they run it and the system all works, then it's done. For 25 years from the date that that is finished, we will not have to change a light bulb. We will not have to mess with any wiring. Again, another good reason to pull the new wiring. We won't have to touch that system for 25 years. So I can tell you right now, my guys go out in our bucket truck, Schaefer Park and the Babe Ruth field, and we're constantly changing light bulbs, working on shorts, putting new ballasts in. It's time and material that's killing us. That is 100% on Musco for 25 years after that job is completed.
That's in writing and
That is in writing, sir, and
what
that
the
is
warranty
labor,
company,
material, that
Musco,
is everything.
sells out to, company and.
You know, Musco's been around a long time. They are one of the leaders in the United States for lighting. I don't see that company going
They're a
anywhere.
US company.
Yes, sir.
And they make their product.
It is US based. They are out of, I believe, in Iowa, and everything is made in-house. It is their patents. It is they buy material and they manufacture everything
So
in-house.
at the July 15th, do you anticipate being able to present us with that Bradford quote?
Absolutely.
Should we be ready to make that an agenda item so that we can?
I would like to bring it as a staff report at that time to
Staff
get,
report?
yeah, and I would like to get a recommendation for what direction we want to go on that. I would like resolution on that.
Before you put on the agenda as an action item, okay?
We're gonna get that information from Bradford as soon as you get it, right?
I'll send it out in an
We'll-
email to
we'll
all of,
Go for the next meeting.
that's fine. Yep, I will send it as soon as I get it, sir.
Thank you. Any questions from the public on this departmental report?
Just a quick question. I did attend that meeting as
Hey,
well.
What's your name?
Rose Robertson at 1057 Mill Street. I did attend that meeting as well at Schaefer Park. My question is, let's just say we go with this company. Was there anybody,
Musco?
Musco, is there anybody that's called in other places that have had them for at least 5 years or something and or more? And when they call them, when they break down, do they come immediately? Because you got to remember, they're going to get paid. So you could say 25 years of warranty all you want, but at the end of the day, are they going to, I mean, what are going to be the consequences if they don't show up to fix the lights? And there they are for months and months broken down. Then what, is there something in the contract that states if they don't show up within 2 weeks, they're going to donate $1,000 back so we could hire somebody to fix them? I'm just throwing that as some kind of, you know, what's in the contract if they don't show up.
Got it.
That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Director?
So to answer your first question, Mrs. Robertson, or counsel, I'm sorry. To answer the first question is that, yes, I have been directly communicating with Marty Hooten, who is the maintenance supervisor for Selma Unified School District. They just put in another Musco system around the aquatic area at the high school, and all of the lights on the football field are also Musco. Talking with on many occasions. They have had very good luck with Musco over his time. Can I see your mic, please? Over his time as supervisor of maintenance for Selma Unified, they've had a really good relationship with Musco. The comment that was made by Musco at the meeting when that question was actually brought up about response time was that part of what Musco does when you procure the system from them is that they monitor it. What they told us is that they have a building somewhere back east, that they have a huge room with nothing but monitors, and they have people that staff that 24/7, they monitor those Musco systems. That is part of the cost of the build out for that system. The way that it works is it throws signals to those monitors, and if there is a issue where it is actually affecting the usage of the field, they can detect that. Typically, it's just like maybe one light burns out. And the comment that was made from the rep at Musco was, when that was asked, was that sometimes they're there within a couple of days, 2, 3 days. Sometimes it could be 3 or 4 weeks. But if it was something that was affecting the system to where it affect the operation of those fields, like a whole ballast of lights went out, they would be there immediately to address that. That is part of their warranty. As far as a rebate, if they don't show up, I don't believe I saw any language in their proposal or what their warranty stipulates that said that there would be any rebate of any money. The way it was put to us is that their monitoring is so well that they know when it's a major issue and they get people out there immediately.
Okay, for the next meeting, couple of things, that some people put me in touch with or brought to my attention. Just think about for the next, presentation. What if the city goes solar? Are we gonna be able to upgrade that system to solar? Just think about it. And then two, what, in terms of, the lighting that they have, would it need to go solar? Because from what I understand, those lights are LED and they are very, very efficient. So I guess it's a related question. Would it be solar compatible? And two, would it need to be? And we'll talk about it at the next meeting. Maybe
Okay.
you could get their input and maybe of all the reps, because I really do see the city going solar here.
Right. So I can tell you that if we start going down the road of solar, we will not be dealing with Bradford, Musco, or this other aftermarket company. They are all hardwired systems, the way that their systems work. I don't believe that the monitoring and everything could happen the way that they do it at Musco. If it was solar, you have to have those feeds that is relaying that information. I will have that discussion. And the other thing I'll say is that Bob did offer, when it was time and we got right down to it, he would be more than willing to be online during the next meeting. If you have any questions, further questions from the public that maybe we're not answering, he is more than willing to be online to answer.
Good, he lives up the road in, Sacramento area too. From
Yes.
what it sounds,
Yes.
will be accessible.
And also, I believe the city of Dinuba also went with Musco for their.
That is correct. Actually, the crane company, Pierce Crane, that we had come out to help us remove all of the poles that were existing, that was the same crew that did the job in Dinuba, and it was a very successful project. I don't have any contacts in Dinuba, so to speak, so I haven't reached out to them. But I saw the pictures and the installation of it, and they're very familiar with those systems. They're used to putting those
I'll
systems
talk
up.
to the city manager. He's actually Rachel's husband.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, get his opinion on it. I mean, it's better to know what people are saying. All I've been getting my information from is Mr. Hooten.
Great.
He's very
With it-
familiar with that.
Thank you, Public Works Director. We really appreciate all this work you've been putting in on this. Look forward to that next report. And now we're going to take a 5-minute break so that the public can interact with our departmental reports. And if you don't have any reports for the rest of the evening, you can go home. We wish you a good evening.
Mayor, if I can interject real quick, I wanted to touch base with a question Councilmember Avalos asked earlier. He wanted to know payment reimbursement timeframes.
Mhm.
Now that we've upgraded to the state's upgraded to the MARS system and it's digital, it's 90 to 100 days. So it went from 300 to 90 to, we're looking at 3 to 4 months to see that reimbursement.
Okay.
So just for your record, thank you.
Thank you. So they cut it.
Everybody's leaving.
Oh, yes, sir.
I had to take care of some business. Whatever, you're always welcome. You're always welcome. I don't wanna. No. Oh, just business. I started building some other. Oh, they're real. They're real. Talk to him, it's, he's always close.
I need it.
It's so hard, and you know, that was my closest brother, but the thing about it is that, you know, we all need an outlet, and I'm hoping. Lions is out there.
I'm gonna be safe, man. Good night.
I appreciate that. We'll talk soon.
That's cool.
Good, sir. All you can do, especially when it's 100 and whatever out there.
Man, I tell you, it's gonna. You've been blessed so far.
Yeah, it hasn't been really, really hot. But the older I get, the less I can take.
This car, the air conditioning went out.
Oh, no.
God, oh my gosh.
That thing just needs to go in the shop, period, until it's fixed.
We had an appointment on Monday the next day, but still, it was pretty brutal. Yeah, the whole family. in the car. Everybody's.
That would not be good.
Yeah. Toyota, never have a problem.
And they'll go like 400,000 miles too. Been buying Cadillacs for the last 4 cars. Great, but you know, it's an American, any American car, you want to sell it right when it hits 100,000 because, you know, after that, things start going haywire.
So she. Get rid of that car.
I had a Mercedes once. And, you know, just an oil change. Cost a fortune. Yes. And, you know, after about, I put 60,000 miles on it, I sold it.
So that's it.
Moved on.
Is it on order or what? It's on its way. They told us 2 to 3 weeks ago, that was a week ago. Yeah, I think so. Okay. I think so. Go to work. Hey. Kind of industrial. I don't wanna do that. I'm gonna go take it to the art center. Got an order.
All right, we're going to get started again. All right, we're moving on from our departmental reports to our first public, one and only public hearing item of the evening. This is consideration and necessary action of Resolution 2025-52R, approving rates for landscaping, lighting and maintenance District Number 1, LLMD, approving the engineer's report, identifying the assessments and the property against which it is assessed within the LLMD, and directing collection thereof by placement of the assessment on the 2025-2026 Fresno County tax rolls.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. This item and public hearing is to complete the process that we go through annually to review the assessments that are placed on the properties that are within any of the LLMD zones. On the council meeting, June 3rd, we presented the draft engineering report that explained our methodology, the cost estimates, and the proposed assessments for each different zone. No changes to that draft report have been made. Tonight, we're presenting that report as the final report. Between that meeting and tonight, city clerk has noticed twice that tonight is a public hearing for any of the property owners to be able to discuss this issue. As I stated at the June 3rd meeting, all of the proposed assessments are lower for all of the zones for this upcoming year based on costs that we have estimated and then also what was collected and still in the LLMD fund that can be used. So we aren't charging more from all the parcels, that we're only collecting what we need based on what we estimate the cost to be this next fiscal year. So those rates are in the staff report. They're listed in the engineer's report with justification for those costs. So besides the public hearing, we're presenting you the engineer's report as the final report, asking for approval. And then this item also is an approval to send these assessments through the finance department to Fresno County tax assessor.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions from the council before we open up the public hearing? That will open up the public hearing. Does the public have any questions for or against this item tonight? Do we have anyone online or on the phone with a position on this item tonight that they would like to have made known?
Mayor, I see no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. With that, we will close the public hearing and refer the matter back to council. If there are no questions, is there a motion to approve this item tonight?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes. With that, we'll move on to our regular business agenda. The first item is an action item, and it is the consideration and first reading of ordinance 2025-08, amending the duties of the fire chief. City Attorney.
Mayor, members of the council, this ordinance is on for first reading and introduction. The ordinance that is item number next in order is in 5.2 is an ordinance for the reading and introduction of the amended section 321 of the Selma Municipal Code. That one relates to the chief of police. These are essentially the same ordinance.
Would we be okay
So we-
taking both of those together? City
We
Attorney?
can address them together if you like, and that would probably be preferable.
Would council, by consensus, be okay with taking both of these items by 5.1 and 5.2 together? Due to
Yeah,
the similarity of
Yeah,
content?
since they're the similar, except, department, but they're the similar situation contract, so.
Do we have
I've taken-
consensus?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Your ordinances currently do not specify with respect to either the fire chief or the chief of police who the appointing authority is. What this ordinance does, the ordinance amendment does, with respect to the fire chief, is it makes the city council the appointing authority, and it makes the city council the ultimate authority with respect to determining any adverse employment action against the chief that has been appointed. And it does the same thing with respect to your fire chief. And if you read the ordinance, the overall intent of both of these ordinances is simply to require that any action relative to the appointment of a chief of police or a fire chief is to be taken ultimately by majority vote of this city council. Otherwise, the fire chief and the chief of police are both subject to the supervision, control, and hopefully the support of your city manager in its day-to-day operations. You'll notice one slight difference between the fire chief's ordinance and the chief of police's ordinance, and that is simply this one sentence for the chief of police. It says at the very last sentence of section 321, to the extent of a conflict between this ordinance and any employment agreement, the employment agreement shall control with respect to anything other than the appointment or adverse employment action against the chief of police. That is there simply to acknowledge the fact that the chief of police has an existing contract which is very city manager centric, I'll say. All of the provisions for cause for termination, for example, are centered on directives of the city manager. With respect to the fire chief, you have approved the amended agreement for the fire chief. That contract is fully consistent with the new ordinance. I have spoke to the chief of police relative to changing his contract to make it also comport with the new ordinance, which basically just puts you in control of the ultimate appointment or termination, basically. And he is willing to discuss with me altering his contract. We're not going to alter any of the real material terms of the contract, but we will change things like the cause or reasons for disciplinary action, that sort of thing. We may also propose some enhancements to his contract to make it on parity with the fire chiefs, among other things. So between now and the time that you get this set for a public hearing, which requires, 10 days public notice, so you're not going to get it on for a public hearing until your first meeting in August at the earliest. I would propose to sit down with the chief and work out a new agreement for him that comports with this new ordinance. And we would be eliminating, in the event he and I come to an agreement that you approve, we would be eliminating that last sentence from this ordinance for his position. That is the sum and substance of the ordinance. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Right. Thank you very much for your hard work on this, and thank you to Police Chief Alcarez and Fire Chief Webster for working with the city attorney on this, as well as the city. Does anybody from the council have any comments for this before we open it up to the public for comment? I have a comment. So the reason this coming around is I think people, I've been on for 13 years now. It's my 13th year. And really informally, this is the way it's always been done, in Selma. And when we had a prior police chief search back in 2020, the top 3 finalists actually came here where we are right now tonight and met members of the public and talked with them about their vision for Selma. That was because we had a city manager then that allowed us to do that, but they didn't have to. So really it comes down to the transparency of this process for the hiring of the 2 most visible public safety officers in Selma came down to sort of the whim of the city manager, depending on how open and transparent they were and communicative they were with the city council. Back then, it was more so. And so we had input. Hasn't been that way recently. So, I mean, I think the council, what I've heard in our previous discussions is it's been time to take what we've been doing informally for years and put this in writing so that we have it in writing that we, the members who represent you, the public, our bosses, we have some input on, again, the 2 most visible public safety officers in our city. Seems reasonable to me, sure seemed reasonable to everybody I talked to, and we wondered why it hadn't been done before now, but we're doing it. We're getting to it. It's almost like a piece of cleanup legislation because we were doing it already. Why not put it in now? Again, this is not punitive. This is collaborative. This is more transparent. This is all of us on the same team rather than that wall that we've had previously that we have broken down. And we are working together more like a team than ever before. So I'm really encouraged by this. And I think this is very important for us, your representatives, to have this so that you, the public, have input in this process in the future. Anybody from the public have a comment on this? Do we have anybody online or on the phone with anything to say?
Mayor, I see no hands raised at this time.
Thank you. With that, we'll bring the matter back.
Oh, I just want to make a comment too, just to elaborate what the mayor stated. It's when we first started, well, when I first started, that's how it was. And we had 2 panels, and there was a professional panel, which was chiefs from other cities. And then there was the community, and we were able to get stakeholders involved. So when we had those panels, it was a great process. And like I said, it involved the community, and the community members really appreciated that because they were invited to the three finalists to come here and talk to them just to see what their vision was. And the community felt very involved. So again, it is transparency, and somewhere, somehow, a few years ago, we lost that. And that isn't the way it should be. We're going back to how it used to be. This is nothing new. It's been like this for years. Other cities do it this way, and it is like it's transparent, and that's what we're about. So just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 5.1 and 5.2?
The motion should be to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance.
Is there a motion to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance? Nope.
Sure,
Okay,
my comment.
go for
You
it.
know, and I'll be honest, you guys, and, you know, coming back from the past, you know, in the past, the fire chief and the police department, all departments, it's all about communication. Communication to not just to the council, but to the public. The public wants to know who these people are and what they're doing out there to protect them and they serve them in our community. You know, these are people like their staff and their people, I call them the unsung hero group in our community, you know. They're out there day and night, you know, saving lives and protecting lives. And, you know, it's time to open up the communication now. In the past, it was, you know, it was worked in the past, very good. During that time, something happened, but now we want to open the communication better, not to the public and to the council and all the staff members, that everybody's on the same page and we know what it's about. Do your job. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Anybody else before call for a motion? Is there a motion to waive the first reading?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Avalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera,
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra,
Yes.
Mayor Robertson.
Yes, motion passes. Moving on to item 5.3. This is an action item. Consideration of resolution 2025-53R rejecting bids for the Selma downtown lighting project.
And again, Mayor, members of the council, this item before you relates obviously to the downtown lighting project. The project was designed to install the cafe string lights across High Street between First and Second Street. The project was put out to bid. It's a public bid. Only one bidder provided a bid for the project. Their base bid is shown in the staff report. And their base bid was $503,000. The base bid included obviously the poles, the lights, the electrical work in order to serve the lights. And that's what the base bid was, the portion of the project that would have selected the lowest bidder. The add alternate items that are shown in there were two additional functions of the project to try and, in case we couldn't use the existing conduits, we asked for a price in order to put a new conduit in. And then add alternate two was some additional work at the parking lot and dealing with the breaker. Those are immaterial to the decision on who to grant the project to, but those costs are shown there as well. The engineer's estimate that we had for the project was $184,800. And those numbers are based off of an opinion of our engineers for every item that's a bid item that the contractor has to provide a price for. From the wire that gets put and pulled to the concrete footings to the actual poles, each of the different items that we break out in the bid package, they have to provide a price. And according to public contract code, and to make sure that we aren't discrediting or making making it to where bids are gonna get thrown out or challenged. We don't call contractors and get their prices. These are actual just opinions of our engineers, the electrical engineers, the structural engineers. It's just an opinion. And part of the recommendation to reject this bid, obviously from a budgeting standpoint, also only getting one bid kind of defeats the process of a competitive bid. We can't compare between different contractors to see if that's the market price, or if this one contractor that bid they can put whatever price they want on these items. That's part of the competitive bid. That's why we are bound by contract code to choose the lowest bidder that's responsive. So without the competitive number of bids, we aren't recommending using this bid because we feel like there's obviously a potential for saving money or value engineering the project. So that's the item before you. The recommendation is to reject the bid so that we can look at the project, take information as to value engineering the project so that we can still get the lights. I can provide some explanation to which items cost more than what we were estimating. And those are the items that we can try and value engineer to bring that cost down. Just as a summary, I believe the issue, the poles themselves were designed, engineered and designed to withhold the strength of taking those lights across the street at lengths of over 70 feet. And in order to keep those string lights from sagging when you hold a line between two poles, the amount of force that it takes to hold that line tight is actually a lot higher than you would think. So the longer you have to hold that string, the more force is placed on the top of those poles. Therefore, the poles have to be bigger and stronger in order to safely hold the lights up, to allow fire departments and make sure that people can still cover underneath it. So with that being said, the cost for those poles was very high and was one of the biggest items that was higher than what we were anticipating. So the recommendation, if the council so chooses, is to take a step back, reject this bid. We can value engineer the project out a little bit so that we potentially maybe have the lights just on the sidewalks and not cross so far pole to pole. And if we can provide the string lights in front of the businesses along the sidewalk, similar to what it was before with the trees, and use poles that are just commercially available, that don't have to be built and engineered separately, the cost will come down significantly, in my opinion. So that's one way that we can change the project a little bit to obviously bring the cost back down to what has been discussed at previous council meetings, and still achieve the objective of having the string lights downtown for the feel. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, but that's our recommendation tonight.
Hey, on that particular note, when you said on those lights, do you string lights across well, in a diagonal move? I was thinking maybe when you do that diagonal move, maybe you could just put the lights going this way, another wire, just a wire, no light, just a wire, like a cable, to hold the structure so it won't sag. Is that possible?
It's something we could look at. You're still holding the
you're
lights.
using this other cable to actually tighten it.
Sure. I understand.
You're not using the light to stretch it. You're actually using a logic of another cable to hold that in place in the center.
Sure. So one of the parameters that we had to follow was the input from the fire department with the ladder truck. So at the council meeting, when we presented the concept of where these lights would cross the street, we had a fire truck rectangle that showed the size of that ladder truck, and that it would fit in between certain areas of the lights and still be able to take care of the buildings. So if we crisscross like that, then now you've gotten in the way and you can't use the fire truck. So, it's still, you're still pulling a certain length. You're gonna be pulling 2 lengths now. So now instead of just having 1 wire, you have 2 wires that you have to hold at the same force. So I think crossing the street without going just straight across is causing the poles to have to be really large.
Good point made there with the fire truck. Thank
It's just, it's
No,
something
no.
that we looked at with staff when we were developing the concept. And
You know,
If I could add real quick, Councilman Oseguera, if I could add to that too, just so Councilman Avalos, just so you understand properly too, or understand completely, those strings of lights have a cable that is attached to the actual electrical cable with the lights on it. That cable is the cable that would be hooked to the poles. So that load is still gonna be pulling on those poles even, and if you ran a separate cable to like hold, to like support it, like in a brace situation, you're gonna have poles that cable runs off of. So, I think to add to what the city engineer is speaking of, I think that what we're kind of saying right now is from what we're looking at, the crisscrossing across High Street is cost prohibitive. That the poles and what it takes to structurally build those poles, that, like he said a moment ago, that was the big delta on that difference in that elevated cost. So no matter what we attempt to do, if we crisscross, you're going to be a super elevated project cost. So the poles, like the city engineer spoke of, going down the road parallel on the sidewalk are substantially smaller, a lot cheaper to build. I mean, you have to think before, and I wasn't here, but I've seen pictures. I believe some of the trees actually supported some of those lights as they were strung down the road. They weren't actually all on poles. So the pole, when you're going down and I'm not an engineer, but that load is much less. The poles are much smaller. And I don't want to take your thunder from you, David, but those poles were over $300,000 of that bid. So if you think about what he said, the engineer's estimated cost was a little over 180,000, and you take that 300,000 for the cost of those poles from that $500,000 base bid, pretty close. It's pretty close. So I think again, going crisscrossing across the road is going to end up being cost prohibitive. We can definitely look at it, like you said, though. Thank you.
Okay, now, on another note, okay, we're supposed to put trees in. We're supposed to put trees in the downtown area. Can we string the lights around the trees? Like, that's what Fresno's doing right now. They, downtown on Fulton Mall,
Oh, we had it before.
they had it before. They string the lights around the trunk of the tree and up on top of the tree. And, that's doable.
sure. So it would take a certain size tree and a certain size trunk to be able to
Yeah.
support that, similar to what
I
was
think
there.
we already chose the tree already.
Right.
Water resistant tree there.
Excuse me. Yeah, so the downtown strategic plan lists the trees. In the concept that we provided with the lights, we showed potential areas where those trees would be in order to meet the direction of the strategic plan. If you wanted to put lights in the trees right when you plant the trees, you would have to put in a pretty substantial mature tree. So it's doable. It was just going to cost more to do that. So the way that we designed it, and again, we would look at it so that both would function. We get the lights in as the council has directed, and we move right into whatever funding is available to put the trees and the tree wells and make sure that we're looking at it from a holistic standpoint according to the downtown strategic plan, so that the trees can grow, provide shade, and the lights are provided as well.
I have a question. So I know we did, I think we talked about this, but those string, what is it, wire, whatever it is, lights, they can't connect to the buildings? The poles can't be connected to the buildings?
It could, there's an issue, those buildings are private, so I
Yeah,
think there
but
may have to be some kind of agreement
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
an agreement, but because I understand where the cost is coming from, because those poles need to be high rated and things like that, but I mean, I mean, the downtown is talking about refurbishing, rebuilding, cleaning the buildings and stuff, and we were talking about, integrating the business owners with what we're doing to the town. And I think that if we, and this is my opinion, you're the engineer, I'm asking, if those posts were connected to the buildings, it would actually give it more, it would give it more structure, and I think the cost would be less. Wouldn't that work?
Sure. So that's an option to look at, that if the building
Because
owners.
we can get an owner to get the right of way.
Sure, my recommendation would be similar to an encroachment, agreement that, the city attorney can tell us how to do this, but it's allowing the private.
Yeah.
Property owners to be a part of and having some type of improvement in the street. We would look at it like an encroachment to make sure that it meets fire, traffic requirements. If that was presented as an option from the building owners, I think it would go through the building department and just make sure that how it's connected meets, current building code.
I say that because in 2012, when I started doing my analysis on building the restaurant in downtown, I went to San Diego, and I mean, you know, San Diego, it took me 2, 3 days to walk down the whole town to figure out what I was gonna do. And I noticed that what they had done back then is they had given the right of way, and they put their structured lights stringing across, because when they had events, they would put it up. And I remember that particularly, and those are old buildings because this is downtown, right? So I imagine that that's probably why they're so expensive. And my question to you would be, could you guys do research and just, you know, hypothetically ask and see about, would that approach be a cost less effective way of doing the pose? And
On the same note, Johnny, did they have, when you went to San Diego, on the buildings, they had the anchor boats against the building? They anchored?
it is a long time ago. It was in 2012, 13, but they had that. And the reason why I say this is because when I did that, I went and I talked to their downtown, and I talked to people, and they told me how they were doing it, how they structured their plan. So my question is, could we give that thought? Because I mean, a lot of our buildings right now, they don't have what's the awnings. So, I mean, if we connected a pole to it, it would give it more of a, and we gave the right of way, us, the owners would give the right of way. I think it would actually even look cleaner.
I think that there's a couple of issues. You'd have to negotiate with every property owner downtown. You'd probably have to secure some sort of an agreement or easement with their permission that identified maintenance, who's responsible for damage, upkeep, what have you. I think you also have buildings that are single story downtown that may not be able to get enough height if you put the lights on the building. So we would have to look to see if we would have to install a pole on the roof or something along those lines. But you'd have varying differences in how the install would occur. It would take a lot of coordination, and you could have one or two property owners hold the whole thing up potentially if they didn't like the terms of whatever agreement we come up with encroachment on their building for maintenance. So we can look at it. We can obviously have that discussion. And I think we did have that discussion. It was kind of ruled out due to that reason. But we
That
can
was an
revisit it.
alternative that was discussed. And I mean, if you look at the stoplights at Dinuba and McCall, we are stuck in quicksand now over getting a consultant to get that right away for four property owners at the corner. Could you imagine at an intersection? Could you imagine what delays we would face trying to get building owners to sign off on an easement? And then you got some building owners that aren't even around here. So, I mean, I just think in terms of, I think we talked earlier about the lighting in Schaefer Park, time has a value here too. And when we originally discussed this, we gave a deadline of September 1 for this. So, you know, it's been a month since that went out to bid, a month, and we've done nothing. So I think we need to get moving. I give kudos to the Public Works Director for hustling and getting us quotes and displaying that sense of urgency on Schaefer, which is what we need on High Street as well. We need those lights. And I can appreciate that the city had a different process because this was a sealed bid, and that was a different type of cost arrangement.
It's per the purchasing policy.
Purchasing policy or purchasing co-op with that one. So it cut through a little bit of the sealed bid process. But the principle remains the same, which is we need, you know, ideas. I do recall the lights being strung from building to building. It just never came back. It's a great idea. Just like for the reasons that we're all discussing tonight, it's probably not a huge priority it's probably not likely just because it just won't work, but it's a good idea. And I like to hear more of those good ideas. The polls, you know, on High Street, you know, I mean, I think we all just go back to, why in the hell did we take all those trees out, take those lights down, throw them away? I know past is past, we're good. We've moved beyond that. But if we had those trees, we would have something to wrap the lights around, as Councilman Avalos says, something a little bit better. We don't. We have to start from scratch again. And, you know, I'm hearing that the poles just, it's not gonna happen. You know, with the 6-inch diameter poles for the lights strung across the street, which really look great, is probably not gonna be a feasible alternative for the city of Selma at this time. What I think we'd like to know is what is feasible and what could we get done in a reasonable amount of time? Like 2025, you know, can we get back out there if we do agree to go with the light to light down the street instead of the crisscross? How much can Public Works do of this? If we do that, if we can get poles from the open market, we can get the poles, right? City can get the poles.
I'm sure we can. They're gonna still have to be engineered to withhold or withstand a certain amount of pull, the loads on them, but
But
that's
engineering
something
can
that's.
give you the specs.
Absolutely. That's something that we can work through. And real quick, if I could back up, just to address, Councilman Trujillo's, we have looked at the buildings. One thing I want everybody to remember, when we talked about the poles, we talked about multipurpose poles, future. So we talked about those poles have 3 conduits in it. Number one, no matter how we go, if we go building to building, where's the power coming from? You've still got to have that pole where you're starting, where that feed's coming from. The other thing to that is that the other 2 conduits were for future speakers and for future cameras, CCTV for PD and for safety reasons. So I just want everybody to just kind of keep that in mind if we are looking at the buildings, like the agreements and everything, which we'll see how that works out, but you're going to defeat the purpose of those multi-purpose poles.
I mean, you look at the brewery district and those are crisscrossed and they didn't seem to have any problems with those. What happened there?
The poles are deflecting. So if you look at the poles, they're using old light poles. They're pulled in.
Oh, so they are actually failing.
Yeah, I would not recommend doing.
Got
that,
it.
so, from an engineering standpoint.
Okay.
I have a quick comment. I just like to know, where's our plan B? I mean, I get it that you only received 1 bid, but I think because we were on a time frame that there should have been a plan B. And the misquote, that's a huge misquote of what you anticipated it would cost and then what the bid came in at. I mean, I'm just surprised that the amount, there's such a huge discrepancy there.
Price too. The plan B, when we brought the concept to council and talked about doing lights down the sidewalk, we were directed to do crisscrossing. That's the bid that went out. Plan B is value engineering to pull that in now that we know at least what this one contractor priced it at. Not having a competitive bid, I have no idea, and this contractor isn't obligated to tell us why they came up with such a high price. That's their right, that's their price. That's why we do competitive bids. When we get 3 or 4, you will see contractors with prices all over the place, and it's completely dependent upon their operation and where they do things. That's the other reason we're recommending rejecting this bid, because there's no competitive nature. So our estimate, if other electrical contractors had bid on this, they may have been closer to our opinion of cost. I don't know, because they didn't bid. We were surprised at the price as well. So my recommendation as a plan B is to try and do the lights along the sides. We can look at that and have our engineers come up with what size pole, because we're not going as far, then those poles will get smaller. That's the point of engineering it. We'll come up with a spec. If you choose to have Public Works do more of the work, they will at least have a spec to look at and get a cost. There is, in my opinion or my understanding, there's public contract code that we have to follow based on a certain amount of projects, and there's a limit to what you can self-perform. So for my recommendation, that's why we recommend the public bids based on state law.
What about these stumps that still exist? Who can Public Works handle that? Because did this electrical contractor know they were gonna have to remove those too?
In the plans, right, for their bid.
So if we took those out of the plans, might that make this job a little more palatable for an electrical contractor?
I would think so. I would potentially.
Is that something that the city could self-perform?
Yes, it is, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and I do want to reaffirm what City Engineer Horn said a moment ago. We were given a timeline for this, Mayor Pro Tem Guerra. We were very communicative with the council as to where we were with the project as we were developing the design for it. And as he said, we brought a couple of different ideas to council for your approval of what direction we wanted to go. We had no clue, as he just mentioned, that we were going to be over 500,000. That was like so far out of the ballpark. We never expected that, or we probably wouldn't have gone through the time with fire to design everything and with the city engineer that we did to get it the way that we did per your request. So I think that I will take the blunt of any of that that you guys want to send our way, but I think that between Assistant City Manager Keen, City Engineer Horn, and myself, we've been very, I feel we've been very transparent about where we were in the process. The fact that we got one bid, I agree with Mr. Horn, that is not acceptable for the city. We need comparison. So I'm going to validate everything that Mr. Horn said at this point.
It's not to be blunt, but it's just, we waste a lot of time. So how long is it gonna take now to value engineer this and get the plans and kind of retool and get this out to bid?
I understand that. And we'll, if so directed, we'll start tomorrow and work
Yeah.
with the engineers to change the dimensions. We just need to get a design calculation. And then if we can, obviously, we're trying to find a pole that's commercially available and doesn't have to be built. In order to do a public bid, according to the California contract code, you have to notice it twice, and it has to be 10 days before you open it. So there is it may look like nothing's happening, but it is happening. And so our job obviously is to get those out to bid as quick as possible so that we can follow the appropriate required timeline to then open the bid and then bring that immediately to you, to a council meeting to award or to reject. So there's just a process of time that we have to go through. But we'll start tomorrow if so directed on the value engineering side of it. I would anticipate only a couple weeks now that we have all the plans, we have all the specs. It's just changing those parameters and changing the specifications for that. Whether or not that has to come back to council before we go out to bid, we'll work with the city manager on that. But that would be our.
We could always have a special meeting to
Can I
consider
have a
it if you're
comment?
ready.
What about the Tower District? They've had their lights crisscrossing for years. And I don't think they had any problem with fire department or anything. And that's a busy,
Yeah, talk to them about it, and I don't know how those are connected. And
I mean, maybe,
building codes have changed since then. You know, we've looked at a lot of different areas for ideas on how to get this done. And with the direction and what we were trying to do,
right, but that's what we're saying. I mean, some of their towns have them crisscrossing.
And I
So-
believe, I'm sorry, Mike.
Go ahead.
I believe the design more or less mirrors what's in Tower District. I think height wise and distance wise, it's pretty similar. And so the type of poles that were there, I'd be curious of when they did it and what the cost was. I know people at the city of Fresno that I can call to find out how much that actually cost. And try and do a comparable. They would probably have some economy of scale because it's probably longer than ours. But we can try and get a comparison value for that, similar to what we did for the fire station.
Yeah, I know the Brewery District, Public Works did all the work on that, 'cause I know Councilman Avalos actually talked to them and he asked, who did the work for you? And it's the Public Works installed everything. So I mean, there's ways to save money.
So Public Works is capable of doing like stump removal, that kind of stuff in front of the project going to bid to reduce cost. But please keep in mind staffing and what Public Works and Parks and Streets and what we already are tasked with. I want to be very careful about what we commit to. I've made a comment to the mayor last week in a discussion that stuff like removing tree stumps, absolutely, I can put a couple of guys on that. But I just want to be very conscientious to what my staffing needs are to do my day-to-day operation.
And comparison wise to the amount of facilities and the type of facilities in the city of Fresno are considerably different. So equipment wise, training wise, and staffing wise, they have alternate resources that are available with our city.
We already spent almost $1 million on Schaefer Park. I mean, that's not a cheap ticket, you know?
Well, we're looking at an option that's involves less public works. I mean, if we go with the must-go option, then most of that is through them. The city would need to actually erect the poles themselves, put the lights on, put them up. But we're getting off topic, that it's a little less public works intensive than if we went with one of those internet options, the New Hampshire option.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So that's the item unless there's any other questions. Obviously recommending we reject this bid and value engineer it based on your direction.
Got it. Thank you. Does the public have any comment on this item tonight? Come on up.
Brian Ramirez. I visited other towns, Fowler, Kingsburg. Kingsburg has trees. What's that? Yeah, what's blinking red? It's gonna die.
Low battery.
Okay. I visited other towns. Kingsburg has trees along their sidewalk. They just wrapped like, so to say, Christmas lights around them. I believe how we used to have them here.
Mm.
They called it a day. We've gone to Fowler. They also have. I'm looking at a pole right now because I took a picture of it. We can just get this at Home Depot. It's cemented into the ground. It goes into the tree, and I believe it's connected to their city light. So, I don't know if you guys want to, go down there and take a look at it, get some suggestions, maybe talk to their public works department. Because just hearing all this is honestly, it's very disappointing. We've waited this long. I don't, like Mayor said, I don't know why they were taken out in the first place. Someone said, I believe along the lines of, they would crack the cement. No other cities have, their cement's cracked or their sidewalks cracked. There's sidewalks in the Barrio, District 4. They're like this, literally. There's not an issue there. Like, I don't understand. I believe a while ago, Mayor, I believe you said that the ordinance changed for the sidewalks. I believe now they're the homeowner's responsibility. Is that correct?
It depended on a grant several years ago for the downtown, whether the business owner was responsible. It's kind of arcane. And it was, if the business owner took public money for a grant, they were responsible for the sidewalks. But usually easements are the business owner's responsibility.
What about homeowners?
Homeowners.
So I can answer that question. It is in our ordinance that it is the requirement of the property owner adjacent to the city right of way has to maintain that right of way.
So usually it's on the homeowner for the right of way. But you can't sell it. You can't make money on it.
Right.
But you're responsible for it.
Yeah, like I said, it's very disappointing. So I would suggest for you guys to go out there, maybe look at other towns, get ideas. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Ten 57 Mill Street, Rose Robertson. Yeah, very disappointing because now we're going to get charged even more money just to go do all this. And it's being held back over and over and over again. And the only reason why I'm saying it, and I don't care to be negative, is just because we did it ourselves a couple hours and put the lights on High Street ourselves. We did it with Public Works, one person, one electrical person, and a few of us. So we're just pulling the hair out of our heads going, now we're going to go pay an engineer more money to go find other ideas. It's just costing us money to install. And then to top it off, we have these engineer professionals and we have no pictures of what it's going to look like. What if it looks like something really bad? Now I'm concerned. We don't even get to see pictures like people are sending us. What if they went and did something digital on somewhere and they would give you ideas of what they're talking about, because they're talking about the polls, they're talking about, why don't you show us? You got a lot of money coming out of our taxpayer dollars. This is professional engineers we're talking about, and we can't even get pictures of ideas of what it's going to look like. There's a lot of us that are visual here. I want to see a pictures. I want to make sure it's going to be done right now. I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned that we can't get it done. What's wrong? I don't want to spend any more money on ideas because we get charged for that. Let me tell you. Enough. If it comes down to go get those those trunks out, go get those trucks out, put the trees in we asked for and do it that way. And make sure you put wire. Remember, we put wire so they stayed up nicely, the cafe lights. But do something. Thank you.
Ella Ramirez, Southern California. This is very frustrating because we've been waiting so long. And it's just, I was thinking when I was back there, okay, we're talking about the lights. What about the trees? Can you get those stumps out? At least can we have trees? Because like everybody's been mentioning, we've gone to other towns, Kingsburg, Fowler, Clovis, they all have trees. You come to Selma and it's just bald, there's nothing there. And it looks, with this heat, it looks even hotter. But if you had shade there, it would look really nice. So I want to say, for now, get those stumps out and put trees in. We all voted on what trees we wanted, and I think those need to go in ASAP. And I think that would at least give us something to start with, and then bring in the lights. And, it is frustrating because I didn't think it was going to be this much. Get more bids. Don't just go with one person. For me, this person saying, this company saying, oh, well, what's going to be more than it was before, and they're not saying why, that's a red flag right there. So get more bids, start from the beginning, get more bids, because we've already wasted enough time on all of this. Just start over with 3 more bids. And, connect with other cities and see what they tell you, what the process was for them, how, where company they went with. And I'm sure that, something can happen. So for me, this is what I want to say is get the trees in first. And then we'll talk about the lights and see how we can handle that. Take care of that. Thank you.
Anybody else with a comment? Anybody online or on the phone with a comment on this topic?
Mayor, I see no hands raised right now.
Thank you. That will bring it back to council. I think you're hearing our frustration because we've been dealing with this a long time. We're not mad at you. We just want this done, and to get a bid like that that's so far off the engineer's estimate it just shows how far apart we are from our city having a concept of how we do this and get this done. So I think we learned a lot more as a city with that bid. And it was experience, that now we know what we have to do. And I would just ask the council, do we have consensus for the city engineer to go back and value engineer this out with the Public Works potentially taking out the stumps? So don't have that in the bid. Do the lights. We want the trees. We're going to want the trees. From my understanding, we got to put the lights in before the trees, or the trees will interfere with the lights. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So we start with the lights because we're down that road already, literally and figuratively. And we just want to get this done as soon as possible. So can you bring us some plans back as soon as possible, city engineer, with some visuals? Show us, like the speaker said. We want to see this. We want to see what it's going to look like, because ultimately that's why we're doing this, to add to the visual appeal of our downtown and the safety and all that good stuff. And then we'll be right back to you with trees after that. But let's get these lights in. Let's do it now. Let's get a plan.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment to the comments that were just made, if you would, please? Concept drawings, which I think is what the speaker was asking about for visual. We can get concept drawings, pretty painted, that kind of give you an idea of what it actually look like. Keep in mind, that's an added cost to engineering. When we came with the project to council, the drawings that we had were the plans for the job, and it depicted very clearly what our intention was to do, and was approved by the council to move forward with that. The next comment I want to address is, we agree that one bid is not acceptable. That's why we asked for resolution and for the council to agree to not accept and reject the one bid that we did get. But unfortunately, when we put it out to public bid, we can't call and solicit contractors. The contractors have to pick up on the public bid and they have to bid on it. And unfortunately, we only had one company that was willing to do that. We have no control over that. So as the city engineer said before, California state contract law, we have to follow parameters, and we are doing that to the best of our ability. So if concept drawings are wanted, we can absolutely provide those for the project with the value engineering, but we're adding more cost to the engineering. So, and I am trying to be, as a department head, conscientious to the money spending as well. So I think that we're trying to do the best we can with that. So we would need directions as far as concept drawings. The new plans will come showing the entire design as we did previously to have the job accepted and to be able to put it out for bid.
You know, we don't really need concept drawings. Why can't you just go, like you said, you wanted to do something like the tower has? Bring us some pictures from tower, show us what it's looked like. You don't have to do, if you want to do something different, there's a lot of cities who've done lights and they've already beat you to the way they've done it. So I mean, why do we need concept drawings for?
I mean, during downtown strategic plan workshop, during downtown design guideline workshop, we've presented similar lighting designs in downtown where they're strung crisscross across the street. So we've done that due diligence and presented them. I think we
Okay,
even
just-
showed.
just bring them
Well, hold
back.
on. Excuse me,
Sorry.
council
Yeah.
member. I apologize, but at the end of the day, we've shown crisscross. We showed what it looked like on the side of the road in visuals, and the council did decide to go crisscross. So we have presented those visuals. We can present them again. We can make them available. That's not an issue. What, Public Works Director Hahn is saying is we've done that. We've done this due diligence, and unfortunately, we can't handhold people and bring them in here and say bid on our project to give us variable costs so we can pick a reasonable cost, because as the city engineer also said, somebody may bid on it saying, I hope they just take my bid. It's a small project and I'm just going to throw my bid in the ring and maybe nobody else bids and I get awarded because maybe they just want to get this project done. It happens. Unfortunately, in this case, that was the only bid we received. We may get other bids next time that are considerably lower if we put this same project out to bid because maybe the estimators were on vacation or they were busy that week. However, we will do our due diligence. We will come back with additional information regarding value engineering of what we can do to try and bring the cost down. In addition, we will do what we can within the bounds of the law to do outreach to get this bid into the hands of capable contractors to try and bring the cost down.
So what we want is now I think we need to understand each other that we did select the crisscross lights. You didn't warn us, and probably in hindsight, if you knew then what you know now, you would have told us, no, it's too expensive. We can't do the crisscross. Now you know. Now we know. So I've kind of forgotten what the lights look like in the trees. The downtown strategic plan was like October or something, right? So it was a long time ago. So let's get a refresher on what it looks like going from stringing from, pole to pole instead of the crisscross down each sidewalk. So that's all we're saying. We just want to have a look with a couple of pictures of what that looks like. We don't need the engineer. We've been there, done that. We're good. So we're kind of giving you a tough task, get this done, be really fast, but at the same time, help us understand at the public's perspective of what it's going to look like so that we can buy in and we can be a partner with you for this process, rather than us just kind of sitting here waiting, to hear what you have to tell us. And then, if it's bad, you're going to get criticized. If it's good, you're going to get praised. No, we're in this together. It's our downtown. I know you guys want to make it look good. Really appreciate that. We want it to be good because we want it because it's our town. We want to live here. So we need the speed. That's what we really, really need, and we want those visuals. But I think we've impressed on you the importance of speed tonight, and how much Public Works can do out of your busy schedule would be great to lower the cost on that and to lower the cost that has to be actually bid on at risk. Because like you say, you can't tell them what to bid on. You can't tell who's going to bid. But maybe this project will be a little more available or a little more palatable to electrical contractors out there because there's less others. It's less complicated.
So the question I want
Potentially more profitable for them.
As far as speed goes, one direction could be that we install the lights on the sidewalks, shorter distances, value engineer it and get it out to bid. Or figure out what those are gonna look like and bring it back to council. Is that what you would
No.
like us to do?
Get it done,
Mhm.
bring it back after the fact, come on in, tell us what you're doing, because I think you're gonna start doing that tomorrow, I think you said. With council approval,
Well,
you're gonna go back and
I have a
get
comment
that
before
done
you-
and then bring it back to council, because I think we have an idea. We were all at the strategic plan. We know what it's kind of gonna look like, but we want a refresher after you come back and show us.
Right, so just to be
Well-
clear, are you directing us to go ahead and go back out to bid without coming to council? Or would council like to see before we go back out to bid?
It's,
Yeah, we need to get out,
Go out to
get
bid.
out,
Okay.
get out
No,
the
that's
bid,
great.
and
Yep.
then show us what you've done.
Sure, understood.
My only concern is how do we know how much this project that we had approved really cost? We only got one bid that was super high.
Yeah, we don't know.
You
until-
know, I mean, it's
until
like.
rebid.
I mean, but look, he value engineered the last time, and it was all wrong.
Value engineered again, and we're gonna end up.
Well, the engineer estimate, will you do a re-engineered estimate? You have to do that for a public bid, correct? To
correct.
give some sort of guidelines out there,
So if he's
but you
gonna-
kind of know what's going on, and you kind of know how much it's not gonna take as much as it did before, correct?
Correct. And that's what drives our opinion. The other cost that was a lot higher is just the actual wire. And so that price changes based on market price. And our opinion is based on recent projects, and we just don't have any control over that.
So the
But we'll
poles are
update
gonna
the
change and the wire's gonna change.
All of them will change. And
Okay.
We're gonna provide an updated engineer's estimate based on the new project that goes out to bid. So if that's the direction, we're happy to get.
Yep,
moving on.
and you're looking at a couple weeks on that.
That's my hope. Yep.
Okay, and then just kind of give us milestones at each council
I
meeting.
don't agree with it, but you can go ahead and do what you want.
Is there consensus to do that? No? Yes? 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 He's gonna,
for him to
he's gonna go
back.
back out to bid and
Okay.
go. Okay, so the consensus is to go do that.
I believe it's
Mr.
an
Mayor?
action item that we need a vote so that we. can
Okay,
actually
is there a
do that.
motion?
I'll make a
Well,
motion.
Well, we also need to reject this bid so we can move down.
Good.
Is there a motion to reject the bid and to go out to bid as soon as
I'll make a
possible
motion to
with the
reject the bid.
reconfigured plan for the lights to go along the sidewalk instead of crisscross?
Make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll
Call the roll,
second.
please.
Councilmember Avalos?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Guerra?
Yes.
Councilmember Oseguera?
Yes.
Councilmember Trujillo?
Yes.
Mayor Robertson?
Yes, all right, thank you, everybody. It's a tough one. With that, we will move on now to our future agenda items. This is council request for future agenda items not subject to public comment. Items require a consensus. Does anybody have any items they would like to see at a future council meeting?
Yeah, Scott, I'm not sure if we might have to, how it works on the new subdivisions, on the new subdivisions in our community.
Mhm.
I'd like to, introducing LMD operation for the flock cameras on these certain corners of the division, on the main streets, corridors, on the new subdivisions. These flock cameras are different than the chief is requesting. These are like regular cameras that we have now in our city. They record and everything, and it's a LND, which is the homeowners. It's a small percentage every homeowner will pay for these flock cameras being in these certain streets. So the price is so cheap. I mean, per household, but it'll create a safety haven for the regional, in those streets. In other words, any activity that will take place in certain streets, cops can be able to access these
Can that
cameras.
be out of the LLMD? The cost for
As-
cameras?
Yeah, as part of the new subdivisions, I think we had the discussion, we're not really doing LLMDs anymore. We're doing CFDs, community
Can that be a
facilities.
part of the
district. Yeah,
CFD?
it could be part of those,
Yeah.
as part of the, assessment for services that we intend to levy on new subdivisions.
And then-
You'll have a final, excuse me, council member, I apologize. We'll have, a subdivision coming forward that will have CFD, with assessment charges for police, fire, storm drain, parks, street, landscaping, all of those items. And we can have the discussion of how those funds are allocated. Because we don't necessarily have, I don't believe we have a contract or anything for flock cameras right now. We don't have criteria. the funding and the assessment can include security or law enforcement activities so that we can allocate those funds at a later date when they're collected. So
And
If I could add real quick to that a little bit too, Councilmember Avalos, we have to think about if we're building new developments way out there on the east side, northeast side of town, like, Amberwood's going in, we have to have the infrastructure. Like, who's gonna monitor that? If it's monitored by PD, how do we get that all the way to PD? So keep in mind too, and like the assistant city manager said, they're looking at a lot of different conditionings for new tracks that are going in or developments in the city of Selma. But keep in mind that infrastructure, you got to get that feed all the way to wherever it's being monitored. So those could turn into extremely large projects. So I wanted to just throw that out there.
Okay, I'll give you a little history. When I contact the flock company, they have two cameras, one for the subdivisions and one for what we call law enforcement's off the freeway, you know, and they can monitor them and they can relocate them anywhere, and they're mobile, and they can come to the city and you can show them the plans of the streets, and they can designate, help you allocate where to put them for the safety of of the area. Okay, we can bring that person back again if we need to.
and council member, I think the discussion more is I don't think the public works director is saying we can't do it. It's just a consideration as part of developing the assessment and the cost for that subdivision of what we're gonna levy on each resident. How many cameras do we need? Where are they best located in the subdivision is also a discussion to have with PD along with the manufacturer of that equipment. So we would need to identify how many cameras do we need, what the utility rate is per service charge is for each camera. So there's a lot, there's a lot more into it, but understood. And I believe the assessment would allow us to fund that through the subdivisions.
Yeah, and also but you know, and you look at these projects as far as the engineering down here, you know, Horn, he knows the street subdivisions and everything, how they're laid out, the maps, and you know, the corridors, what streets are gonna be going straight and what streets are gonna come out of subdivisions. So the cameras, you'll probably want to locate them where they're coming out of subdivisions and made corridors where there is one way in, one way out. So you could logically set those up like that. But that would be the process of the company. They could educate in the law enforcement there to assist how those subdivisions can operate those safety for those residents. That's all I gotta say.
Sounds good. Anybody else with a future agenda item?
Yeah, I have a couple. I'd like to know what the cost would be to extend the sewer line to Dinuba and McCall. Because I thought when we first talked about this, it was supposed to be extended all the way to Dinuba and McCall, but I understand it's not. So I'd like to see what the cost would be to extend that.
The plans that I think are being reviewed or have been reviewed extensively by SKF, CID, and other agencies, not only go to McCall, I think they go further to Duke and further east. So they don't just stop in McCall, they go further east.
So they go, I'm talking about, okay, McCall and Dinuba. So it goes further than, oh, okay. And then, well, then that brings me to my next question. I'd like an update on the McCall and Dinuba street light or the stoplight. Do we have like a time frame? Do we have an update? You know, because we still get so many calls on people complaining about when is that street light coming?
We'll get an update.
Okay, and then another thing I wanted to mention, when we took that Ethics and Brown Act training, and talking to the attorney there, she mentioned about, we talked about several things and there was a question that came up about closed session. And she said that closed session should be in person. So that's my question is how do we get that, or what's the time frame that we're supposed to inform people that we're gonna do a closed session, and if you can't make it in person, that you're not allowed to be in that closed session? It should not be Zoomed.
I agree with you, it should not be. The problem is they started this Zoom stuff during the pandemic,
Right.
and they have consistently changed the statute like every. I think now you're to a point where for you to appear, not just at a closed session, but at varies according to the circuit. I haven't, I would have to look at the statute to see if there is an actual prohibition. To make that so, I would just have to look at the latest and greatest version of that statute.
That's it. Those are my three.
I'd like to add Granite Solutions to the next agenda to appoint them as the grant writer of Selma and to use that present allocation for a grant writer for their fee, for their monthly fee, and then the council, of course, would decide which option to take on the reimbursement option. But I believe there's a budgeted amount of 30,000 right now for the grant writer, and I would want to allocate that to the new grant writer.
There is, the one thing I would point out is the purchasing policy for the city for qualification-based services requires us to put it out to RFP.
For grant writing,
Hmm?
how did our current grant writer get in as our grant writer?
She's a part-time staff person.
Okay, but not now. She's in Texas.
She's a part-time staff person that was a full-time staff person that was converted to part-time.
So
Well, Mr. Mayor, your that is your purchase. It's like 300 pages.
Got it.
I've always wondered if this thing even exists. Highly repetitive. There are many different outside contracted consultants, assistants that cities hire. They're always based on qualifications. The city always is looking for the best qualified person. Sometimes that person just appears and the council knows, and the council, this purchasing policy is really, to my understanding, a guideline for staff as opposed to this council. And the council has the ability to comply or not comply with a purchasing policy that is just really designed, I think, to get the best service for the cheapest price. And it's typically designed and directed to staff, not the council. The council may know off the top of its head who it wants, for example, for its next city manager. And it shouldn't be strained by policies that are designed to constrain staff and keep staff in line. So you can pretty much do things the way you want. If you're asking for a proposal from Ms. Hall, we can provide that to you. You can look it over. If you want to go out and look for others that do the same work and compare those proposals, we can get that for you too.
Proposal. So how does this, if Ms. Hall came to us with the proposal, we invited her to come tonight, is it just a matter of semantics that we had a request for a proposal because we requested her to come tonight, she brought a proposal, so she met that request for proposal?
But it wasn't advertised, and did other people have a qualified opportunity to bid as well? I think the city attorney makes a great point. How do you know what the lowest cost is if people are coming to you with only one cost? We don't know that the bid for the streetlights is only $500,000 until we get more competitive bids. And so how do we know if someone's not able to provide the similar or better quality of service for a lower cost? We don't unless we advertise and request additional bids to go along with the singular proposal that we received. I'm not saying that the council can't do what they want. What I'm saying is the purchasing policy clearly articulates the goal of the city is to obtain the best quality service at the best price based off competitiveness. If council would like to go with a singular proposal, that's fine, but the purchasing policy identifies that if you go more than $25,000 in a singular year, it goes out to a competitive bid process.
Got it. So, our city attorney, we didn't go out and get an RFP on that. We did the hire on the city manager. We're not gonna go out for an RFP. We're just gonna advertise.
But there are, certain
They're
types
independent
of
contractors.
services, for these bids for the lights, for example. I gather what occurs is they go through a clearinghouse. And that
That'd be the
clearinghouse
Schaefer
is something
Park
that's
lighting.
available to all, contractors. That process doesn't really work when you're looking for a city attorney, for example. It doesn't work when you're looking for a grant writer at all. There are probably, I forget the name of the other one. California Consulting is one of them. The other one that you had was, I can't think of their
Well, we
name.
used to have Townsend.
Townsend. They're grant writers. So there are a handful of them. My understanding, there's California Consulting, there's Townsend, there's Sonia Hall, the Granite Solutions, and there are a couple of them out there that are quasi grant writers and quasi lobbyists, like the one you had before, Chris
Tom. They did both.
Right?
Yeah.
They're into kind of different stuff. I mean, they're not really focused too much on grants, although they run across them in their legislative work. It's a very, very specialized field. And you can pretty easily identify. And in fact, I'm sure Sonia Hall could give you a complete list of all her competitors, and I'm sure she'd be glad to do that. And you can send out a request, say, give us your proposal for grant writing services.
She did. So, city attorney, maybe you could take a look at that purchasing policy that deputy city manager is referencing and look up that particular instance when the services provided are not a commodity, but are provided by a scarcity of providers, which makes their services a little different than your usual run, ordinary services that you can get on the open market. Tough to get grant writers on the open market. She has specific knowledge of government, of funding, of how this whole system works. So she does have a specialized knowledge in this case.
Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, California Consulting charges $7,000 a month, regardless, or they charge, I think it's $5,000 a month plus a percentage of the grant. They charge $170 an hour for grant administration services. I can tell you that Townsend charges $5,000 a month. And they charge an hourly rate, which I don't know what that is, for grant administration services, or they will simply take the 10% of the grant that is assigned to administration as their fee. They all do the same thing, and they're all pretty much in the same ballpark. Those are the three I'm familiar with.
So it sounds like an exception has been established for the purchase plans should the council wish to go forward with retaining the services of Ms. Hall. And then I would propose as a funding source, the current budgeted amount for the city grant writer that is not really with the city anymore, but is a remote grant writer. So that's what I would propose. And we're not taking a vote tonight, Deputy City Manager. You'll have full chance to weigh in when we present this as a agenda item. Just
If you
ask
like,
to have this as an agenda item.
I can solicit all those people. Just all I got to do is pick up the phone and
Couple
call.
calls.
They'll send me the proposals. They'll
Okay.
send me their form contracts. You would know exactly what they all charge. I'm pretty sure there's only like 5 or 6 maybe out there.
Okay. All right. Is there a consensus to bring that item back the next council meeting or the council meeting after that? Okay. Anybody else with a future agenda item at this time?
Mr. City Attorney,
Yes, sir.
here I go with my dog issues.
Your dog ordinance is
The dumping one, right?
yeah, the dumping of
we-
dogs. We're trying to I have somebody working on that.
Okay.
The existing ordinance is highly detailed, so we're working on trying to find little cubby holes within which to put it all instead of rewriting your whole ordinance.
Right.
So it's just taken a little bit longer than I had anticipated. I expect that I can have that back to you on the 15th.
Also, I wanted to take a look at the ordinance that the city of Fresno instituted about backyard breeders. Everybody's taking a stand as far as stopping all the stuff because that's where it starts, They breed those animals until they can't use them anymore and then they dump them, which is kind of. I don't know if you had a chance to
a
look at their,
breeding-
No requirement to spay and neuter all animals.
they have a very strong ordinance that they've instituted.
I will take a look at that and we can probably develop something very similar.
Great. Thank you.
That would help. Thank you.
All right. With that, we'll move on to council reports. Councilman Trujillo, do you have a report tonight? Councilman Avalos?
Yeah, this week I stopped by the Boys and Girls Club. How's everything going with their operational stove? And they've been working on it daily, get it up and running. And I guess the seniors, I think they're up and running now, believe it or not. And then also we had the event downtown, great event. A lot of people turned out, even though it was kind of warm. But you know what? It was a good turnout. People liked it. They liked the band. They liked the people around them getting out. It was a good feeling in the community to coming out, during the, on a hot day, still come out and be a part of it. They had a great time. They had actually a good time. And I thank the people that came out and participated as far as their booth, bringing the food and all these other stuff, an event and showcase their, stuff. It was nice for them to come out and I thank the fire department. They came out and walk around and check everything out. So, and I thank the public works. They were doing their job out there, cleaning up the trash and everything. And I thank them. I thank the people that came out and supported the event overall. It was a good event. They like to see more of it, believe it or not.
Yeah, on that note, there's going to be more events coming. Our next Selma Live is going to be September 26th, which is sponsored by City Council, City of Selma. community services and everybody else that wants to join us. We've been having meetings, we're gonna start having more meetings with community services. We're bringing Pepe Marquez, who's a recording artist. He does a lot of different types of music, mostly oldies, and we're gonna be bringing, there's a gentleman here, I don't know if you guys know him, but he's gonna be bringing some cars, some nice cars to display and stuff, so we're looking to have a big event for this one. And of course, we're reaching out to different organizations or businesses, to help us pay for the expenses, because we want to make it a big event, September 26th.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Okay, I attended the CVT graduation, which was a great event. And I also attended the Food Truck Friday. It was a great event. So many people came out. And there were some people from other cities that were there, which was really great and nice to see that, people are hearing more and more. And that's what it's about. We all support each other, and it's just becoming bigger and bigger and better. And that's what we've talked about. How can we do these things bigger and better? So I want to say thank you to staff that was there, that supported and helped out. And the food trucks were amazing, those were so many great vendors that came out, and people were really happy. So we'll look forward to the next one, or keep making, we'll keep doing them. So hopefully just continues. Thank you.
We had a couple years ago, remember there was a food truck Friday, and, council wasn't necessarily the best friends at that time, but we all went out to support our events. And I really hope that we can all support our city in these events, because it's not about individual egos or personality. It's about us bringing our city alive again, and all of us getting together. And I hope we can all get behind our city to support our people, because they've asked for that. It's not political. It's about us getting together and making our city a better place. I attended the CVTT graduation as well with by 4 fellow council members. Met with the fire union representatives. There'll be more meetings to go with that on those issues. I attended the COG and FCRTA meetings Thursday night about Measure C. We went until 9:30 p.m. in Fresno on that one. A packed house, a lot of drama. We haven't seen the end of that one. It's just getting started. Attended the Selma Food Truck Fridays. It was hot, and I was proud to be there. It was just awesome to be there and to be part of our community. And I appreciate everybody who took the time out of their schedules to show up for that. Rose and I attended a graduation party on Saturday of Chloe Mendoza. So Chloe, Rose and I used to pick her up on our way to the animal shelter, the Second Chance Animal Shelter, on Saturdays at 7. She didn't complain. She was a high schooler. She couldn't drive yet. She said, "Pick me up. Let's go." And she helped us, with the animals. We cleaned the kennels. We did all that stuff that you do when you clean the kennels. We took the dogs out, and she did it every weekend with us. Well, she ended up going to Stanford University. She graduated Phi Beta Kappa. She's going to graduate school. And you know what? She's such a nice person. Just a really nice person. And she remembered little old Rose and me. Said, "I remember when I used to pick me up and go to the animal shelter." So, I just love that. And she's from Selma. She's going on to England and doing great things and making her world a better place, but she'll always remember Selma. This is her hometown. I want to encourage everybody to go to fireworks July 3rd. That's coming up, if you can believe it, Thursday. Gates open at 6:30 at the Selma High Stadium. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Do we have anybody who would like to send us off with some oral communications at this time? Anybody online or on the phone? Comment?
Rose Robertson, 1057 Mill Street. I know I sound frustrated, but overall, I want to say that really proud of this new council. Thank you guys for always pulling the check register and asking questions. You could tell you guys really look at that thoroughly, so I really appreciate you guys looking out for our money. The citizens really appreciate that. I get texts all the time. Also, I know a lot of people have stated that a lot has been done with this new council since you guys been sworn in and moving forward with a lot of things. And mostly, I know that the lights and everything will get done because again, that's what the citizens want and they're going to get it. Another thing is those food trucks. They just been successful. Wow. Just and well said. Other people from other towns come and they're shopping here, they're buying gas here, and it's the Selma people that are bringing their cousins and other people here, and they're really enjoying it. And I have to say, they're going to want more, and it's a good thing. This good Selma is life. And with that said, on that event for September 26th with Pepe Marquez coming, we already have one sponsor for $2,500, and that's a total market. And so we really appreciate these. These are brand new businesses that came to Selma, opened up, and they have a beautiful facade, beautiful look of their store, and they want to be involved with their community to give back. So really appreciate that. So I just want to do a shout out to them as well for the next event. And there's a lot of people looking forward to our next event, Selma Live too. Thank you.
Awesome.
I did have one item. We do have the ribbon cutting for McGrath tomorrow at 10 a.m.
I had a question. Somebody asked me.
At McGrath? Thank you.
Sorry, Brian Ramirez. I had a question. Somebody asked me, what is the update on the new Starbucks? Because now I believe I haven't seen anybody there, or they said the same thing. So sorry, no pressure.
PG&E.
They're waiting on PG&E to come up.
Okay, and then I also wanted to say, council's doing a fantastic job. Thank you for all that you do. I know it's a lot. I know you guys have like a lot on your plate right now. I don't mean to add to it, but last year we had a town hall meeting in District 4. I don't know if you guys would be open to that for the other districts as well, only because people get busy, people have kids, sports, what have you. They can't call in because some people don't even know how to call in. Um, Sometimes, even myself, like I missed the last meeting because I was just worn out, just tired. And but I was able to catch up on online. But if you guys are open to that, pretty sure the public would really appreciate it. Thank you.
You. Get there.
Ella Ramirez, South California. I was gonna ask the same question about the Starbucks over on Second Street. So, yeah, and also, also wanted to say thank you for the events that are happening around town. I think, I haven't seen it happen in a while until now. And citizens, on behalf of the citizens, just want to say that they're really happy, they're going, able to go out there and have fun, take the kids. It's a family event. And we're looking forward to more. So I just want to say thank you so much on that. We really appreciate it. And to Public Works, when we were getting ready to leave, they were cleaning up, and I thank them. And everyone else, the food trucks, different food trucks are coming out there. Never had, is it Papa's tri-tip, and I had it that day, and it is bomb. It was good. So just looking forward to more of that. So thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you.
Coming out. Anybody online or on the phone with a comment?
Mayor, hold on. Caller, you online?
Hi, this is Teresa Salas. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Teresa Salas. I had my hand raised when we were talking about Schaefer Park lights, and I guess they didn't see me. But I did have a question regarding the foundational things that need to be done at Schaefer Park. Because of the size of that project, is that going to have to go out to bid also? And if that's the case, then should we get started on that as soon as possible too? Because as the mayor stated, this is a very time sensitive project. We want to get everything in the ground that needs to be in the ground before the lights can be put up. Another question I have is regarding 2nd Street and East Front, the intersection there. I asked about it a while back because there's virtually no lines anymore painted on the street. You can't see that turn lane. People kind of pile up because one lane ends for a right turn, and then you have the left turn lane, and you have the middle lane that goes straight. into downtown. And I was told at that time that there was some project going to be happening, but I have not seen anything in that area. So I was just wondering if that is still happening or what's the status of that. And then the third thing that none of the council mentioned, but on Friday, the 4th of July, Maiden Voyage is celebrating their 1-year anniversary, and they are having an open house from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. They're going to have music and giveaways. And so if the public is interested in attending, and council and staff also.
Great, thank you. Anybody else with a comment, question? Yeah, you want to respond to Loretta?
Regarding Second Street, we have an item on the agenda coming up, which I think is the Clean California Grant update to discuss some of the monument signs, which we will present. I think some of the plans along with the proposals for signage at the off ramps, and that project specifically, I think is the one Teresa was referring to in regard to striping on Second Street. Some of the striping on Second Street will be addressed as part of that. Some of the striping, I think, is within the right of way of the railroad, and we know how dealing with the railroad is as well. So we are working on some of the striping. Some of the striping is problematic. And then we can work on other striping that's not problematic. So we are working to address that as part of the Clean California Grant.
Shaper Park lighting, most of it's going to be ordered through that consortium, and then the installation will be by and large done by the Public Works Department. Is that correct?
We'd have to
Or by Musco themselves?
We'd have to confirm that to understand if any portions have to go out.
I don't think a decision has been made who's going to be providing the lighting. At that time, then the decision will also be made whether or not the city has to go out to bid, correct? Thank you. All right, everybody, have a good evening. Thanks so much for coming out. We're going to go into closed session. Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back.